Alrighty then, everyone. Welcome to the stream. This is your boy, Sir Kappa, and welcome everybody to a new episode of the Millennial Kickback. Much appreciated to everybody involved, everybody who is here today. My name is Sir Kappa. I am the self-proclaimed demon of mischief, a little bit of a quirked up white boy goated with the swouse. And today I'm joined by a few guests. Actually, I'm joined by a much bigger crowd than I'm normally used to, so this is a new one for me. But before we actually get started on anything, I would like to take this opportunity to allow my guests here at this time to introduce themselves individually. So if you could, please introduce yourselves, starting from left to right. So Senna, that would be you.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Senna. I am a small, short-time rhythm and fighting game streamer. I also play a little bit of Monster Hunter. And when it comes to fighting games, I've been playing for about a year. So I'm starting to get a little more experienced, but it's nice to be here with everyone.
ISU would be next.
Howdy gamers, it is I, the Ice Cube. I'm Commander Ice, and I didn't really think through my intro too hard. I've been playing fighting games for quite a few years now. I've been part of the Smash Bros community initially. I played a lot of Street Fighter V for quite a bit, and then I got into Guilty Gear recently, and I've been I don't know, I think I'm like a mid-level player, I guess. I don't know. I haven't thought through my intro too hard, sorry.
Don't worry too much about it. But if that's up with the formalities for Ice, Inari, it's your turn.
Oh. Hi. I am Inari Yoko, Kitsune Fox Vtuber. Mostly I stream fighting games and the FPS games on my channel. And yes, regarding the Christmas hat, I'm in the Philippines right now. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay. Other than that, I'm glad to be here.
Well, we gotta clarify that for the people at home, yes, it is indeed Christmas time, but not where we live. That's the very least we can say for everyone here, besides Inari. So, just
Christmas started in the Philippines like 8 days ago.
yeah. So do not mind the Christmas hat. My man is just straight bawling. That's balling. That's it. We're all dying in the heat. My man is bawling in the snow. Let's just leave it at that.
He's snowballing, dare I say.
Dare I say it? Yeah. And Roa, it is now. You now conclude the introductions.
Hello, my name is Roa Sato. I am a 09er that the FGC would call it. That's basically that started with like Street Fighter 4. That was when the renaissance of the new generation came. So I mainly play anime fighters. There's Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear. And I do compete and go to tournaments as well. Well,
we've got formalities done. Everybody's here. We know where everybody stands. So the main thing I brought you all together, I've talked about this off stream, and I want to enlighten everybody who is at home, so we can clarify a little bit of what the stream is going to be about, the podcast in question. We're going to be talking about the whole mentality aspect of the FGC, within the FGC, within its players, both newcomers and seasoned players. So I've brought you all here because all of you are vastly unique in the way that you've kind of experienced the FGC. Roa, you are the 09er, and Inari and Ice are the in-betweeners, and you, Senna, are like a mix between an in-betweener and a seasoned player. So I want to have a more like diverse way of thinking and like how each of us have kind of gone across our journeys with the FGC, but also kind of give an idea of what kind of things we could potentially help those who are within the FGC struggling like with their mentality of like do's and don'ts, and potentially talk about like topics that people feel about are currently happening within the FGC. One of the main topics I want to like start off though is I want to have everybody talk about the main controversy at hand, and that is the hitbox controversy that we're currently facing. And while you guys are talking about that, I will be away momentarily, but I will allow you guys the moment to speak.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
Okay.
So whoever wishes to open that can of worms, I will allow you. I will be back momentarily. Something came up.
All right.
Okay.
I think we would like to start with probably
Who has a hitbox?
I believe the only one of us who owns a hitbox right now would be Kappa, but I think like both me and Roa have both been looking into getting a hitbox recently.
yeah, with me, I started using pad back in Blaze Blue's CT.
Calamity Trigger.
Calamity Trigger.
Yeah.
Back in Calamity Trigger, I switched it up. I switched to stick when Chrono Phantasma came out because of new stance mechanic. I had to change it. It was easier on me. But after a while of using a stick, I having pains in my wrists now from playing on stick for so many years. After that, and playing on the pad, it also dealt with that as well.
Yeah.
So to compensate, so to help me do the longevity of my FGC career, I'm going to go switch to a hitbox.
Yeah, sounds good. Honestly, for me,
I
have a similar progression. Kind of starting with pad at first and then switching to a stick after a while because it hurt a lot. But for me, I am kind of hesitating on hitbox mainly because all button is still kind of rough on my hands after being a rhythm game player for so long, my hands are both kind of really messed up. So stick has been less painful for me compared to having all button in a hitbox or mixbox layout so far. Ice and Yoko, either of you have any opinions on hitbox as it is right now?
Hey, you can go ahead.
All right. I don't plan personally on swapping over to hitbox remotely because I'm more comfortable on my stick as is, and I don't know. It's not that I don't feel like I'll be able to like make a full transition over, heaven forbid. It's just that I don't think that I'm at a point where my game will level up at all because of using a hitbox or anything. I don't think it'll make any tangible difference using a hitbox versus using a stick right now. And I'm still like, my hands are fine, my wrists are fine. I have beefy forearms. Yeah, I understand the discourse where it's like, I can empathize with it because it's a very different sort of like, oh, things are changing. And I understand that people might not be a fan of that, but it does benefit people that are like, you know, have bad wrist problems and need potential help and support. And yeah, I think it's a net positive for hitbox, and I think it deserves the space to flourish. I don't think it should be demonized even. I don't quite know how else to really go other than that. I'm just kind of
I think
like,
that's pretty good right there.
So
Yeah.
I just got back. Sorry, I was just listening in, and I didn't want to like butt in anything. And also appreciate it for the people that are in chat who rated. I currently don't have that on. I currently don't have the notification for any of that on. So if anybody who's using the redeems, none of those will pop up. Not even raid messages, none of that shit. So I do apologize. We're not ignoring you. We're just focusing on this. But from what but could you run me up to speed so I can know what we talked about real quick? Sorry for being a bad host about that.
Yeah, no problem. We are just going through our experience with hitbox or our thoughts on getting one at the moment. Ro and I said that we are both considering getting one for basically the same reason of preserving our hands for our hopefully long time career in the FGC and being able to play longer without the hand pain, with my only hesitation being that my hands are already kind of bad from playing rhythm games, so hitbox may not work out for me because of that.
Yeah, as someone who's been playing on a hitbox for like the latter half of a year now, and probably a little bit even longer as well, like I'd say almost a year and a half now, almost 2 years now, if you push this all the way to April. So the way I see it, and the reason why I even decided to get a hitbox myself, is the fact that I understand like the people's gripes with it, but one of the main things that I got when I got that hitbox is the fact that I needed a controller that would help me with execution, because I was a long time pad player and I've been around the FGC since 2015. I was used to playing on an Xbox pad, and y'all know how bulky them bitches are. They're plus size. Like my hands are like operating on that. I can't play on slim controllers like the PlayStation controllers, especially not DualShock 4. And like the DualShock 2 and the DualShock 3 were okay, but I think the DualShock 2 was like something I can manage. But I mostly played on a bulky controller like the Xbox One controller, the Xbox One S. And the one major thing that I found out after I got that hitbox it doesn't innately mean that you're going to have the skill necessary to play at a relatively good level. I will say though, it has enabled me to be able to pull off things that I normally execution wise would not be able to do otherwise on a pad, because I did not have the muscle coordination to be able to execute them, and I didn't have the liberty and the freedom to play on a pad as I do on a hitbox. There's so much more freedom that you can do, especially because it's like, unlike with a pad, you have more freedom of hand movement and hand-to-eye coordination, where you can shift your hands and use both hands, opposing thumbs, to be able to operate one set of movement options and then use the other hand to use the rest, and then use that same hand that you have on the other side for the face buttons to input as well. There's more freedom and more elasticity that you can manage with that. On a pad, you don't have that same elasticity, because you have to play on claw, which is very small, very uncomfortable, and depending on your hand size, it doesn't feel right. So
Yeah.
and for
Not
stick
just doesn't
players,
feel right, but it can hurt too.
yeah, and for stick players, I've heard this argument as well. That's why I considered stick, but I heard these ongoing things of like Goichi when he played the sets in Evo 2019, and I've heard other people's like horror stories of how people played on the on stick for years, and they developed wrist problems, and it fucked up their hands, their arms. It was just really bad, and I heard about that. I didn't want that to happen to me, so I decided if I'm gonna stick with anything, and I saw ProxyCon talk about this, I went for a hitbox. Granted, there are some things on the hitbox that are a little bit tougher to do. Like for instance, perfect half circles are a bit tougher. You have to use some sort of input techniques that allow you to get them more consistently. There are certain techniques that you have to do in order to be able to manage other stuff, like inputs like pretzel motions. You have to get used to the idea of being able to do like half circle back forward. Half circles are already weird, but trying to do them on a hitbox is a little weirder, because some games do not let you cheat the input. You have to do it perfectly, like in Blaze Blue Central Fiction. Yeah, and you know, that's why I got it. And I will say my execution has not been better since. And it took me a month or about a few weeks of consistent usage, but after a while I started to pick up habits and shortcuts and ways of like trying to figure out how to do it. And I think that there's nothing wrong with having accessibility in the terms of a controller. I think if the controller itself functions well with the systems in place, like SOCD cleaning, if the game itself and the controller manufacturers operate under the same rules of being able to make it so that your controller doesn't innately give you an advantage across the board over other ones, especially like towards pad players as well. I think if you give everyone the same playing field or a similar playing field, then I think that playing on a hitbox, a cross-up, a stick, or a pad, it doesn't matter what controller you should be playing on or what controller you should tell people have to play on to get wins. I think anyone can play on anything, but you know that we don't live in a utopian society like that. Some people are going to find reason to complain.
Yeah, as we've been seeing recently with the light of the current hitbox, I guess I'll call it a controversy, even though it kind of isn't. For those who are unaware, the original creators of the hitbox, or what we now call the all button layout, to avoid getting mixed up with their brand, they released a video of them inputting a super in Street Fighter V in 4 frames, which is 1/15 of a second. And a lot of people have been calling the hitbox a cheating device for the few years that it's existed, due to these kinds of things, being able to input things quicker than everyone else is able to. And in the case of this 4-frame input on a super, that has been viewed by a lot of players as an unreal level of cheating, because it is just physically impossible to do on many of the current standard controllers. So a lot of people have been calling for it to truly actually be banned, and there's been a lot of pushback against it due to that recently that's been picking up. Because a 15th of a second is extremely quick in fighting games. I believe for pad players, you could probably do it in like 10 or 11 frames, but for stick players who make up a very large portion of the community, I think it was difficult to do even in like 17, which is like more than 3 times as much time. So I can understand why people were like upset to see it, and why people think that the hitbox does give a genuine advantage once you've gotten used to it. But I will say, I think the advantage is kind of an oversight. I'm not going to say it's an oversight on controller manufacturers. I think it is more of an oversight on game development side, in which you're allowed to do things that allow you to input at that speed.
Shocking claim, yes, it is about 4 frames. 1/15 of a second is about 4 frames. Or somewhere about. That is relatively fast. To put it into perspective, the time it would take for you to do a quarter circle on a controller would take relatively less time on a hitbox, and I can speak on that on behalf of everyone in this chat. I've played for about a year now. I've already mentioned I played about a year and a half, so I can tell you right now that there is some level of advantage, but I do not think that the advantage itself is enough to warrant a ban, nor do I think it warrants the need to like put it on the scale of a cheat box. Shit, I'm drinking Coke, sorry. It's one of those things where if it's possible to play with and it's awesome, and it makes execution a little bit easier, especially for more technical inputs like Tiger knees, especially because there's like the traditional method, and then there's the and then you have the shortcut method where you hold up and then the input that you need to TK with. But that's another discussion for another day. But speaking on the topic of accessibility, though, like continuing off of that, I actually want to bring up something that's been a topic of, and it's been a center of controversy, but has also been like a positive thing. It depends on where you side with the spectrum, and I want to talk about the accessibility that happens within fighting games, and this can go one of 2 different ways. It can be seen as a negative thing or seen as a positive thing, and we've seen this in the fighting game. If you've been around, like any of you have seen it, the Japanese fighting game roundtable, they've had about like 3 to 4 now, and you've had like different developers from the JP fighting game scene, like Bandai, SNK, you've got Atlas, you got Arc System Works, you have, I think I already said Bandai, you've got multiple companies all coming together, which is a very huge deal if you don't understand. These people are so conservative and keep to themselves so frequently that it's hard to even get any change, but they came together and they're working on projects to like help make the scene better. And one of these things was accessibility, both on a by in a sense simplifying games a little bit more, and possibly adding systems in place that allow for more players to pick up the game and, you know, run their shit. And one of the biggest projects that did that was Guilty Gear Strive, another one being DNF Duel. And I wanted to extend this question to you guys of like, how do you feel, like, what do you feel about, how are your feelings on the idea of accessibility? Like, where do you think, how do you feel about the direction of it, more importantly?
I am all for it. How is the grassroots mentality of the FGC that's gatekeeping it? Because everyone's just used to controllers because they're playing on console or playing on stick. Where we started from the arcades. Because of that, it's very hard for us to grow and have accessibility with everyone. But even we complain about having auto combos as well. So,
oh man, I remember the auto combo.
I know.
Pain.
I think that controversy started with Persona 4 Arena.
Actually, that
Vanilla.
started sooner. I feel that started way back with like Melty Blood, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
Then
like
Ooh.
Acadenza, I believe it was like it was MVAC, or I think it was just Melty Blood Acadenza.
yeah.
Which iteration was that? Was that the first iteration of Melty, or
It was really, really early on. Like this is when they first dropped the Melty Blood fighting game.
I
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that and like Persona also infueled that with like a one button DP as well.
Oh yeah, it
Yes,
has
with
that.
Blaze Blue cross tag battle, you were able to do that. I do actually remember that.
I mean, I still remember the DP input for Persona 4. It's literally just X plus circle, or for Tekken inputs, it's literally 3 plus 4.
Yeah, a 2-button input.
2-button input would
And-
cost 2 HP, but the
you can't macro it.
the HP drain could never like kill you.
Yeah, bro, bro, I just heard it right there. Like you could macro it. I know on BB Tag and you could, and BB Tag in general, you could macro that, and I know that in certain other games you also have this. Like you technically have this with like certain games. Even Exert, I think, had this with Jacko, where originally she doesn't have a sweep on her, like her 2D. It's actually like a physical one button DP if you held down, and then the her sweep was her down forward heavy slash. And you know, that actually brings up a good topic of like the whole accessibility thing, like the macros. And one of the biggest ones is like macros for dash macros. Like this is a big one for Strive. And
yes, this has been a point of contention with the release of Strive.
And people talk about this, like how would like we should have dash macros in these games or that game. And I feel like, in my opinion, like when you make these kinds of accessibility options, or you make games accessible and characters accessible, I've always held the opinion that like this took me a while too, because I had to play other games to like form this opinion myself, because I was against auto combos myself, because I came from Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and then I played a lot of like technical fighting games, even Skullgirls before then. Then it took me some time to open up to it, but like when it was on the topic of macros and like adding all these accessibility features and adding games with accessibility, my whole idea is that if you're gonna make a game around this and the characters around this, you have to balance around these concepts as well. So that could mean removing tools from characters, or you could change their tools properties. You could, instead of removing tools altogether, you reconstruct the way these tools are used, or you alternatively change their win condition, or a mixture of all four.
Yeah, and I think Strive has done so. I want to say BlazBlue, when they released Cross Tag Battle, they did something similar where a lot of characters were made a lot more linear in how they played, so that it was easier to understand as well. Because that was another big issue in terms of accessibility, was players not knowing what to do and not being able to get a feel for characters. So Strive and Cross Tag Battle did a lot of work in terms of making it easier to understand what moves could go into what and how you could approach situations. Like, one of the biggest issues that a lot of people complained about in a lot of older games, if they were first starting out, is how do I know what buttons I'm supposed to be pressing? Versus, like, because you have so many, like, if you go to Xrd, for example, you have your 5 attack buttons, you have your punch, kick, slash, heavy slash, and dust, which are the standard of Guilty Gear games.
But every character has like their own Gatling charts and everything.
Yeah, and it's not intuitive to play, and you're thinking, oh, this move is fast. Like, if I press 5P, this move is fast, and I can Gatling out of it. So why should I not always be pressing this button? But this move also does like no damage. And this led to a lot of complaint within like the starting community because they did not know where to start with like any sort of actual combo starting or any of that, and it was too fast to react for them to understand and learn a lot of things, which is where how we got the Guilty Gear Strive counter slowdown, where it lets you react to getting a counter hit so that you can start a proper combo. And a lot of people complain it makes the game feel too slow, but for me, who is coming in with Guilty Gear Strive being my first serious fighting game, I really appreciated that change because it let me know, oh, I've done this combo, I got the hit, so now I can take a second, recognize that I got the counter hit, not just based off of an audio cue, which not everyone is able to hear for one, because there are plenty of players who are hard of hearing or in some cases even deaf. I think that having that slowdown makes it a lot easier for them to recognize that they've gotten a counter hit as well. Because a lot of games, they have like audio cues that you can run off of, but those audio cues aren't accessible to everyone. And it might not have been like the initial focus of adding the slowdown, but it helps them as well. So I really never saw an issue with it. A lot of people complained about the dash macro in Guilty Gear Strive, but it's not the first fighting game to have a dash macro for the fun of it. I believe Under Night is a series that had a dash macro that you could bind. I think it did. Melty Blood has always had a dash macro from my understanding.
BB Tag has one as well. Dragon Ball Fighters has one.
Yeah, if you've played Arcana Heart, it has a homing dash, which will take you not just across the ground, but even into the air as well.
Yeah.
So
For
you use it
some-
in game for combos.
I remember some Oki setups actually you just tap that button for Oki.
Yeah, it's a game. It's quite the odd game. I would not recommend it to people because of the content of the game, but the fighting mechanics are pretty polished, I think, despite it feeling stiff to me as someone who's coming from Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Movement feels really nice in Guilty Gear and in Blaze Blue. I think maybe one of the bigger issues people have had with some of these games is not liking how the game feels to move around in as well.
Well, on the topic of like accessibility, like before we tackle fighting games, like accessibility has been a thing that has been cropping up in video games in general, which is again always a good thing. Like in general, you always want more people to be able to play video games, regardless of what genre it is. But when it comes to fighting games, that's really when it starts to become quite the balancing act because, and again, this also ties in with the whole controversy of the hitbox. And just to give an example, I'm just gonna use Tekken's Electric Wind Godfist. And again, that game, in terms of like accessibility options, the only things it really has are shortcuts, and it doesn't even have a dash macro. But like the whole nature of a dash macro is that you're basically shortcutting a motion input into one button to save time or, of course, accessibility. But that makes a lot of things in the game a lot easier if they did add an input macro into it. And if the hitbox did not exist, but the shortcut did exist, that would be a problem because the Electric Wind Godfist is a just frame down forward 2 input. And if I could just shortcut down forward into one button, literally all I have to do is press 2 buttons at the same time instead of timing it perfectly. And if that sounds similar, that's exactly what the hitbox does. You can basically time multiple inputs at the same time. And because of how fighting games tend to register inputs from your controller, it's going to read them almost as a frame perfect input. And going back to the topic of accessibility, like recently, I would say one of the more controversial issues, even before the hitbox, was when Street Fighter 6 announced the modern and classic inputs. And already, when I saw that, two thoughts immediately. First was like, oh, cool. They're going with a lot easier inputs. And then the second was like, wait a minute. This is a problem for characters like Chun-Li and Guile that are charge characters. Could
Because how
you
do those
actually,
work?
could you actually just press one button and do a spinning bird kick or a flash kick?
And then sure enough, like we found out that there was some form of shortcut, but it wasn't like at first everyone's thoughts were like, oh shit, no, we're getting like the DS version of Street Fighter 4 again. Oh god, no, not this again. But then when we finally found out, like, and you know, this is why people jump to conclusions like really fast, because they didn't read the page. It showed like physical demonstrations as well as a way how you do it. They still have the shortcut, but you still have to do the charge input.
Oh, you do still have to do the charge input? That's nice.
Yeah,
I actually never looked into it, because when I saw the simple mode, when I saw like the modern controls, I was like, that's cool. It's nice that they're making it easier for people to understand at first. I'm not gonna use it, but it's cool that they have it as an option.
like I don't think you have to do like the full technical input of like down charge or down back into up, or
But you still
or
have
down
to like
forward and
hold back
forward.
or down.
You still have to hold the charge. That's the thing. Like they kept the charge mechanic. It's not like you can just like straight up do the thing like immediately. No, or you can walk forward and do it. No, you have to do the charge itself, if I remembered correctly.
Okay, that's good,
Yeah,
because
and I think they've
when they first
done a lot of
revealed
balancing around
that,
it.
when they first revealed that, all we really got for a couple of hours or a few days was just Ryu. That's all they showcased. They just showed a simple Tatsu, a simple Shoryu, a simple meaty kick, and a simple Hadouken. We did not see any release of images or how it works on characters like Chun-Li and Guile. Like, we didn't see that for a while. That's why a lot of people were worried. Including
Right.
me, because I'm like, wait. Yeah, I get Ryu. I can see someone like Juri and Luke. Yeah, I get that. But how about characters like Chun-Li and Guile? These are charged characters. They don't work the exact same way.
More concerningly, how would you make that function with characters who basically can use anti-zoning tools, who can low profile, or who could physically kind of have them like a more complex game? For instance, like how do you take Minot, for instance, and play them if they ever bring a Minot? Is my question. Like, how do you take that character like Minot and potentially add them into a game like Street Fighter 6? Or more importantly, like what would be another like high level character, like a high tech, like Ibuki? Well, she became a resource management character for that game for Street Fighter 5 when originally she didn't really have the resource. Then you had characters like, say for instance, like you just randomly bring Oro back but with drip this time. Like, how do you bring a character like Oro, who is like universally agreed to be one of the most technically difficult characters to play, not the toughest, but like up there with like a very high execution floor, and like to optimize him, it takes a lot of optimization and a lot of technical adversity to be able to like put him into the greatest of use. How would you put a character like Oro, like theoretically speaking, into Street Fighter 6? And that's something that a lot of people were concerned about. And you know, I'll double check it in a minute, but while you guys are talking about this, but it definitely begs the question. It's like, how do you know whether or not accessibility is a good thing or a bad thing? And I just say that accessibility does not equal simplifying everything, and simplifying doesn't inherently mean making easy to use. You know what I mean? I have kind of come to the agreement, even Arc System themselves, to talk about this, where the concerns of like simplification and accessibility like deteriorating the integrity of fighting games. And you know, while I do agree in some aspects, because I don't want it to literally guide your hand like, oh yeah, little Timmy, I've got you. Like, don't worry about that, like, technical input. Just press one button and it all will be fine. And even if you're losing, we'll give you a mechanic that makes it so you can't lose. And I don't like that. I don't like when a company, like, babies you with that kind of stuff. But I don't want to feel like a company is punishing me for not... You're just trying to play the game, and then everybody just waffle stomps me because, you know, the game is catered to hardcore execution enthusiasts. You know what I mean? Like, if you made a game like HNK, like who that was complete horseshit, and take away the bullshit from there, but you take the execution floor from that game and put it into modern fighting games, ain't no fucking way you can make a fighting game in this day and age with that kind of execution. And it's been proven time and time again. Like, every single fighting game from like the early 2000s all the way to now has naturally always been perceived like seeking ways to make accessibility happen. Like, keep in mind, Melty Blood actress, like MVAC, like a Melty Blood actress again current code, was considered to be a baby game, and then people fleshed it out and people consider it as one of the most in-depth Melty Bloods. Then they did the same.
Yeah, I don't understand it because I don't understand it.
Yeah, it's still one of those like craziest things. It's as simplified as it can be. There's so much diversity and so much in-depth like character mechanics. But you know, I don't want to spend too much on that topic. They did the same thing with BB, like Blaze Blue, and then look at where it turned out. Like Central Fiction, especially. Let's on the topic of Central Fiction. That game was considered a baby game, and then years later, look at where it is now. It is considered universally as one of the a really high skill ceiling. Has a game with a high skill ceiling and a pretty high execution floor. But it is a game.
And it's always had a simple mode.
It's always had a simple mode, but the technical mode, even if it's an easier game, quote unquote, by default, it is a game that has done accessibility by still maintaining some level of in-depth characteristics and mechanics that allow the game to flesh out in a technical sense. It's technical as fuck. It is hard as hell at first because the reason why the game flourishes and why it's so hailed in high regard is because of the way the game functions is that it is heavily rooted in basics, which is something any new player can do. Any new player can learn the basics and get pretty far off that. It's when you start to learn beyond the basics where you can figure out how to make those basics become more fleshed out, because the game is rooted in knowledge checks. That's it. It's does it have like a lot of technical skill ceilings? Does it have like a technically high execution floor? Yes.
Hell yeah.
It can be, depending on the character you have. It can be that kind of game. Carl Clover is one of those characters. Izanami is one of those characters.
Izanami, Izayoi.
Nine the Phantom, Izayoi. Like, there are characters who basically require a sense of like technical prowess to an extent. And even I would go as far as to even say a game like, I would even go as far as to say like Guilty Gear Strive, in spite of how simplified a game that is, you still are playing a game with technical prowess in it. It's just that the technical aspect of the game is simplified enough to where a player who is very high and very creative can make something happen and have something with more technical prowess in it. And a newcomer can play the same character, but play a little bit more basic, a little bit more simple. Like, there's ways to play a character that are different from each other.
Yeah, when I first started Guilty Gear, I did like one like 5-hit combo. It's all I knew for like 3 weeks when I played, and you know what? I won games with that single 5-hit combo because the game has enough damage that you can do. Like, there's not a massive payoff in Guilty Gear Strive for knowing super complicated combos for most characters. For most characters, you can pick them up, do like a 5-hit short combo, and that's enough for you to go in online and get wins. And for a more casual player base, that is amazing that you don't have to learn how to do like a 10 to 20 move combo just to do like a quarter of somebody's health bar. at the point of Guilty Gear Strive, doing more than like 5 moves in a combo is kind of just getting a little bit more damage. It's not making up like half of the damage of your move, like your combo. It's like the majority of your combo damage is right at the beginning. So even if you mess up, like you can try and do a complicated combo, as long as you can hit like the first 3 hits, you've already done damage, which I think is really sick. I think that is honestly the most accessible thing about Guilty Gear Strive is even if you don't know combos, you can still do damage just by getting hits. Like even a stray hit can do nice damage in Guilty Gear compared to like, I'll use Blaze Blue as an example. You get a stray hit in Blaze Blue and you get like 3 hits off of it. It's like maybe a tenth of your opponent's health bar. So winning off of stray hits is not really a thing. So
it also is like, I feel like Blaze Blue as a whole is not a really good comparison, especially like because you got to consider that Blaze Blue as a whole has always been a low damage game. So even like high damage combos, like B&B damage in Blaze Blue is roughly 2.5k to like 3.2. That's B&B damage. High damage would be 4K.
Which is like a third to a quarter, or like a third to a quarter.
I would say
like a quarter to a third of someone's health bar is like your average combo is doing that much. Unless you're playing like very specific characters who are meant to do a bunch of damage in one combo. But even then, your average combo might do like a little bit close to a half if you are knowledgeable of it. Otherwise, it'll still be like a third of someone's health bar. And it might not be easy.
If you want to take like a game that does like relatively high damage, or games that can really give you that damage output that somewhat operate under a similar plane, but just have more longer combos, I would say Fighters is like a more comparable option because Strive and Fighters have similar functions where it's like as soon as you hit a counter hit or a smash attack, it freezes the screen and shows it stops on a frame for a while, and then you can basically convert off of that.
So it gives you the time to recognize, and if you know how to go off of it, you can just do it and not really have to worry about, oh, am I gonna miss this, because the game slows down to give you the time, which I love, because I think that's what really turned me off of Blaze Blue when I first tried it, was I couldn't convert off of anything. I could hit people, but I couldn't really convert off of it. The only way I knew how to hit people was by mashing like a really fast button that I could not get a combo off of. It was unintuitive for the most part. Versus Fighters and Strive, pretty intuitive once you've like understood like a basic attack like pattern. Like once I get like, if I get close slash or far slash, I know I can go into a standing heavy slash and like a special move, and that's a combo. It's short, but it's a combo. Versus when I play Blaze Blue, I get like a counter hit, like standing A button and like hit, and I don't know how to convert off that because it's so fast and it just goes into itself. It's so hard to actually like figure out what you can go into in that game versus Guilty Gear Strive, where they actually do teach you very quickly. You can just do certain things into other things, which
Also,
I like.
Really quickly jumping into more accessibility stuff. My first fighting game I ever played was Street Fighter 4, and I have to say, swapping from, like, I never really fully learned Street Fighter 4 because I learned, like, oh yeah, this game's, like, the links in the fucking game are so, like, tight. It's so tough to get, like, a good, long, like, satisfying combo, and sometimes getting conversions on things is, like, immeasurably difficult, and then you add in things like focus attack, dash cancels, and you add in things like... You add in so many other small techniques that add more and more depth to the game, but it's like, it's cool that it adds depth and all that, but like, it's so, like, getting all of those, it's so fucking hard. So when I swapped over to Street Fighter 5, and they give you more buffer time to get your inputs out and to get your combos, they give you more leniency. that kind of accessibility is also a fucking godsend, because it's like it's a very small and minute thing. It's like the slowdown effect for on counter hit. It's like a smaller thing, but it's still like, okay, I can do this, and I can like get combos now. I can figure out when to do combos and everything, and it's the same sort of. I feel like it's the same sort of feeling. It's something that's endlessly pissed me off about Street Fighter 4, and I've still haven't gone back to that game to learn it, because it's like, oh, I could just like play Street Fighter 5 and not get mad at these sort of things.
Yeah, I get
Sure.
upset when I go back to Plus R and Rev because I don't understand like how I'm supposed to convert off hits. I get a stray hit in that game and I feel like it's done nothing versus I get a stray hit in Strive. Even if I don't do anything off that stray hit, it did something. And you don't really get that feeling in a lot of the older games, which I think makes it a little less accessible to people just because they feel like they're not doing anything, even if they really are. It's like you feel like you're doing nothing because you're not seeing the payoff.
Mm-hmm.
But you get to see the payoff in a lot of the newer games that have been coming out, and I think that is sick.
I have a question for both Inari and Inari and Roa, because before I ask this question, actually, I know Roa, you're an 09er. Inari, how long have you been playing fighting games? Just real fast, like how long have you been playing fighting games and dedicating time to them?
See, my first fighting game was Tekken 3. I exclusively played on pad for that. Let's see. If I were to put it in numbers, I've been playing fighting games for a good 20-ish years.
All right, so you've been playing
wow.
a long
About
time.
20-ish years, and hilariously, I've only started using a fight stick when Tekken 7 released. So it's about 6 years ago. Yeah, 5 to 6
Damn.
years ago, I started playing a stick, and I have been using stick ever since. But oddly enough, that is the only game I use I use a fight stick on. Every other fighting game, I've used a pad.
All right. Well, now that I've got that, that's gonna help me with this question, because you two basically can answer this question, and because you two, I want the opportunity to hear both your guys' ends, because I've heard a lot from Senna, and I've heard a little bit from Ice. I'll extend the next questions to you, to Ice specifically, because we talked about the dash canceling, the dash macro. But before that, I want to talk to both of you, because on the topic of accessibility, when you see these new changes in accessibility, you start to see people people are getting upset, people are getting complaining. You see all these people like talking about that. Like new game comes out, new change. What is like the knee-jerk reaction that you guys have like commonly seen when a new game that drops is like different from the previous title? And how do you feel like, or what's your kind of analysis, like what have you noticed like, and as a trend when it comes to the community, like when it comes to newcomers as well as the old ironclad community that was once there from like the days of old? Like what have you guys noticed in your timeline when you guys were like seeing this go through for the last 10-20 years?
Well, I'm gonna use Guilty Gear as an example, because one of the most hilarious knee-jerk reactions I saw was when Strive was announced, and this was when Daisuke did mention that Strive is going through a big change of direction for the entire franchise. And for me, as someone who always considered Guilty Gear to be one of the more complicated fighting games, and my experience for that is Plus R, Rev, and Rev 2. When I saw that, I was just interested, because I'm like, I don't know what the hell he means by new direction, but new means fresh, and I like that. Like, it means that, yay, new toys and new tools to play with. Awesome. But again, I wasn't really part of any FG community at the time, but a bunch of my friends were, and they were like, "Oh my god, like the Guilty Gear community's an uproar. Like a lot of them want to boycott Strive because it's becoming easier." And I'm just like, how the hell would they know that the game's not even out yet? They didn't even release a beta yet.
Yeah.
How
There's
do you
no
guys
beta or anything.
Oh yeah, I
you guys-
remember that. I remember
How do
people
you
were
guys
like,
know?
people were
That
talking
it's-
about that shit. It was so dumb. I
Yeah,
remember.
that was the funniest. That was the funniest knee-jerk reaction for me.
Fuck,
because
the
they were
game's losing
talking-
its technical aspects.
They were talking about it as if they played it. I'm like, guys, this is literally day one announcement. You guys, no beta has been announced even,
They
let
were
alone
dooming.
they weren't even released yet alone announced. They didn't showcase any demonstration or like an official message or statement from Daisuke what he meant.
This was
Like,
chat.
we
This
got
was
nothing. We
this-
didn't even get the name. We didn't even hear the word Strive for a long time.
Guilty Gear. Guilty Gear.
Yeah, they
All
just
they
saw different and they didn't like it.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Okay.
how? How do you guys know that it's gonna be bad?
We haven't even seen anything yet.
If you guys are on stream, like I'm putting the reaction of like how people like heard like day one announcement. Day one.
Basically is.
That really is how people reacted to it, and people have been reacting to that like that way about Street Fighter 6 as well recently.
Okay.
People were going
I'll-
off,
I'll
man.
tell- Hold on, I'll tell you this. When I was there when Daisuke was there, when they showed off the new Strive and Arc Revo, the last Arc Revo of the year before everything shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but everyone was worried about how easy it was, and Daisuke was. Also, Daisuke was there saying he loving it and all that. He's loves it, but everyone's being optimistic on how much is changed. People were mixed when they saw the new trailer. A lot of people, it was mostly positive, but with some negative. But there was very few negatives and how much they changed it.
Yeah, I've been hearing, I guess this is kind of just my experience as someone who came in somewhat late because Strive had already been out for a while when I started. I heard a lot of people like saying, yeah, I miss the difficulty of this game. I heard like the majority of people I talked to who have played like previous Guilty Gear games said Strive is cool. It doesn't feel like an old Guilty Gear game for me, but it's not an old Guilty Gear. It shouldn't feel like an old Guilty Gear game. It should feel new. If every game felt the same as every game before it, that would be a bad thing.
Can I jump in on this
So-
one real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually would like to hear from Ice about this because Ice, I know, like, because I think you have like some opinions on this because I remember I talked to you about this as well. When both of our streams were done, like we talked about it, we played some sets and we talked a lot about it. And I want to hear your take on this. When I saw this change, I was like, because I knew of Guilty Gear and everything. I had a friend who introduced me to the Guilty Gear series, and I saw all these things. Like, I will tell you what, like, Guilty Gear Strive in general, while I do appreciate all the things that Guilty Gear had to offer for the beforehand, I understand that for Strive, this was an experiment. Like, they didn't, like, we all know the joke of like Guilty Gear always like Daisuke is all like, oh bro, he's selling a $60 album with like a free game in it. But like, he really did sell like he dead ass sold a $60 album. And I'm being serious when I say this. Like, the meme itself carries weight, and the reason why I believe it carried even more weight this time around in comparison to the other games is because all the other games beforehand were specifically exclusive to only the rock genre and metal. And while that is still prevalent in the current game as well, I will tell you that the way they handled these new characters designs, the songs, and the kind of atmosphere and the storytelling, initially people didn't like the vocals, but as time went on, I even started to understand that, like, even if I don't like certain themes, like I don't really like Rams, I don't like Enos, I don't like Zatos, and I genuinely don't give a shit for Bridget's, Anji's, or I would even go as far to say is I don't care for Kai's, because Kai's just feels so bland, and he epitomizes the idea of water with stale bread, like water no ice, stale bread. That's basically his song, but power metal. But what I will say though is the fact that if you listen to every single song, every single one of these songs have a different tone than anything that's ever been displayed in Guilty Gear. And then one of the biggest changes is when they announced like the trailer for the soundtrack, right? And you heard previews of all the songs in their video. The one notable thing I found out is that every song has a vocal track, but they brought in female vocalists. And I thought, whoa, hold the fucking phone. This is new. I've never heard this shit before. Like, and when I heard Subhuman Self, I was like, oh god, they gave her a grand finals theme. Wow. Like, it's so good. Everything is different. Ram's theme is not just metal, it's literally like hyper instrumental and has like acoustics. It's metal. It's like new metal. And it had a lot of like acoustics, and I mean piano acoustics. Like, you heard a lot of like synths in the background. You heard her piano, like the piano, and I liked the vibe they were going with. I
fucking love that song. What was it? Freaking Ram's theme is just, it's
necessary discrepancy.
Necessary discrepancy. A lot of the songs are just brilliantly written and designed to fucking just tell a story. So like, a lot of the interpretation for Ram's theme is that because initially it's two separate voices going at it, and it's like, oh, it's the first voice is like, what's it called?
Denial.
Yeah. It's like the two voices are conflicting with one another as Ram finds her own will and becomes her own person.
Because she was one of the antagonists of the Exerd story. Her job was literally to destroy all of humanity.
Oh yeah, she fucking went to war with humanity. It was a whole ass ordeal.
Yeah. I love that about Strive. If there's one thing I like songs that tell a fucking story.
And there's a lot of moral ambiguity, even with characters like Nago. But I'm gonna let Ice continue before I give any more feedback on that.
Then Ram ate Borger and it was all Gucci.
That puppy saved the whole universe.
That puppy and that burger, bro. That puppy
the dog and a burger saving the world. I love it.
It really was the dog in them. It really was. Love the dog, human self.
What the dog doing? Saving the universe.
When the dog, like, what the dog doing?
He's the good boy. Yes, you are. You saved the entire universe.
When you have an entire army of people that could basically one-shot the universe, you have Soul Bad Guy. Not even that motherfucker could stop the will of the Ebony Queen. It took a dog and burger. Like, she's like, hey yo, bro, humanity. Hey yo, she took one look at humanity after a gear gave her a burger. He's like, bro, like, don't kill humanity. Look what they cooking. And she's like, this burger busted. And then he brought her a dog. He's like, you know, humans ain't so bad after all.
So back quickly on the topic of music. I love Ram's theme because of the story it tells. I also really like Eno's theme. I like Eno's theme more now after Happy Chaos came out.
Oh yeah.
Because in the story mode for Strive, Eno and Happy Chaos have a very interesting dichotomy because Eno is kind of, you know, fucking depressed in that she doesn't really have a place in the universe as a whole. She's kind of just like, oh, I'm kind of just like here, huh? I know the world's going to end eventually, and I'm trying to prevent that from happening, but like, I guess it doesn't really fucking matter, eh?
And she's like,
almost
and
nihilistic.
The worst part is that she's written, like, historically, she's always been written as the she bitch. Like, and it's true, like, she is a bitch in her own right. And, you know, Guilty Gear has never shown. Yeah, she's proud of it. She's fucked with people's heads, and she's gone out of her way to literally fuck with people's lives and cause as much chaos as humanly possible. And that's the reason why she even follows chaos in the first place. But, you know, I like the fact that in the story they touched upon it where like this is why I think Strive like really did a good job. Even though I do think the story was kind of mid, I do think that there was one thing they did right, and that's the fact that there is a lot of moral ambiguity.
Yeah.
Like
all the characters have some sort of moral dilemma going on in their life.
Jacko,
Like
it was
every
fleshed
single
out more.
one.
Jacko was fleshed out more. Like I love that they talked about like the connection between Jacko and Arya's soul, because it's dual like conflicting personalities and like conflicting connections to soul. And then you have Nagaryuki, who is not a bad guy, but he's aligned with someone who is a piece of shit and is just there for the fuck of it. And Nago, for some reason, we don't know like exactly what dirt he has on Nago, but we know that Nago doesn't innately hate any of the people that he's fighting, and he only fights because he has to serve a purpose, but he willingly just loses a fight because he doesn't want to have the satisfaction of having to serve Happy Chaos, or being his puppet anymore. And there's also Ino, who like innately was like, she doesn't have any recollection of her memories, and it only took like Axel, the literal British man, like it really took a quirked up British man in it, and he basically said like, and he basically like triggered one of her memories, and she wholeheartedly accepted her death, if I recall correctly.
Basically, yeah. Another big thing is like, what's it called? The thing I was kind of getting at was because I like the way I like Ino's theme is then Happy Chaos, the dichotomy between the two characters is like, Ino is obviously still like depressed and upset and just like, oh, is there like a point to still doing things? And the Happy Chaos is like, yeah, there's a point to still doing things, just doesn't fucking make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, just like it's all about drama, and we're
just gonna kind of
I
do
love
shit.
Happy Chaos's theme because he's just like, hey, I learned some shit for the fuck of it,
and I forgot it. Like
care.
I learned some. I figured out some shit I forgot, and then proceeded to forget again. It took like the opening line of like,
powerful man.
Yeah, this man said like, it took me 10 years to find the answer to something I forgot about it in 2 seconds. Like, it's how do you
and that's it.
And the best part is the song itself, like going on the dichotomy on the way that it displays the characters and the way it tells a story. In Happy Chaos, what do we know about the character? He's unpredictable by nature. He has all these hostages, and he basically goes, all right, set the hostages free, I don't give a fuck. He's like, you lost your bargaining chips, but he still was like, fuck it, why not? Like, it's fun. This makes it more interesting. And his song displays that even more, because in the beginning, it starts off very acoustic-like, very chill, nice vibe. Then it goes to metal. It's like a nice riff for a little while, and then it speeds up in pace out of nowhere. And then at one point, it just becomes slowed down, atmospheric. Can you hear it? A lost upon the living. And then it becomes...
Since I really quickly have the opportunity to gush about this,
Yeah.
the song itself is literally just a fucking Happy Chaos. It's just a fucking... It just shifts in tone. It goes fast, it goes slow, it changes entire, like, sections, it changes everything, it just fucks around and finds out. It is literally in and of itself a Happy Chaos.
And to put it simply, I drift tonight carried by the waves. Like, he's just going along the current. He's being drifted from section to section. He doesn't care. He drifts from one section to the next.
Yeah, because he's fucking immortal. Like, first of all, the fact that, like, as long as people exist, he exists. Like, where they're like 200 eyes on me and there's 100 of me. Like, for every person who knows of him, there is a version of him. So you can't, he's just forever existing. He is effectively doomed to exist forever, and that's fucking boring. So he goes around, like, the reason he exists for drama is because for someone who lives forever, what the fuck else is there to do except live for drama? That's the only thing you'll ever find interesting.
Florida man learns some shit, forgets, and proceeds to forget again.
Yeah. Like, he is quite literally just like drifting along because there is nothing for him to do for the fun of it. Like, even if you look at him, all that he really can do that would interest him after having lived so long, like he's been around for the entire story and very clearly much longer. He's like all powerful. If there's something he wants to do, he can fucking do it. He chooses not to because it's fucking boring. And I understand that, honestly. Like when there's things you want to do or like can do, but you don't want to do it because like what's the fun in that? And it resonated with me quite a bit because I'm like, there's plenty of shit I can do. I don't want to do it. It's fucking boring. Especially being like fresh out of fucking high school, going into college. I don't want to be here. Shit's boring, but I'm here. So I'm going to have fun while I can. And I'm going to do whatever. And it is what it is.
Also, really quickly, just to touch on music a little bit more, like the only other fighting game that I can actually give what's it called, that I can actually say has like a better soundtrack that tells a more meaningful story about their characters is Killer Instinct.
Yes.
I
Mick Gordon does magic.
Mick Gordon had like magic fingers and made the fucking Killer Instinct soundtrack, and was I love the soundtrack. It is very good. It make me happy.
It make me very happy.
Like,
and if we want to connect it, like we really can connect it. The fact that this music tells stories makes it so easy. Like I could listen to a character's story and be like, this character, I want to play this character. I will get this game just to learn this one character. When I first tried Strive, my motivation for trying Strive, I heard a single song in the soundtrack and I was like, that sounds cool. I want to play this game, but I don't have people to play it with. And then by coincidence, one of my friends found out that we had like a place around that ran locals for fighting games, and Guilty Gear Strive was picking up there. So we figured, fuck it, we'll go try it out. I didn't like the character that I first started with because the first theme I heard was Nago's theme. And when I first started, the theme they gave in his trailer was cool as fuck for me. And I was like, yeah, I want to play that character. And I was like, damn, this character's hard. I don't think he's for me. And then I picked up Chio, had a shit ton of fun with her because she was easy to use as a beginner. And I've gone on from there to pick up other characters. But if the soundtrack wasn't there, I never would have given this game a look. I will be honest. If that soundtrack wasn't there, I never would have gotten into this game or fighting games in general.
Yeah.
As someone who
chat, I apologize for the bullshit that is going on screen. I am adjusting everything, so you guys continue.
Right. So as someone who really puts a lot of importance in music and fighting in video games in general, and yes, I'm gonna say it here, I do have a bias. Like I honestly think one of the most important and underlooked aspects of a video game is the music. Like I just can't help but smile hearing that from Senna. Like the reason why Senna plays Strive is because he just heard one really good track, and I'm like, ah.
Like it wasn't the gameplay that, like, it wasn't looking at the gameplay that made me say, yeah, I want to try this game. It was the fucking music. And like
really
now
is.
I don't really listen to the in-game music when I'm playing. I usually have other music on, but the music was enough for me to want to get into it and actually like try it. And then it was the gameplay that made me want to keep going because I could understand it. Like
And
the
that's
fact that the music and gameplay was enough for me to go through like 6 months of taking an L like every single day for like 3 hours straight. That says something.
It's really
That's
cool.
really the important part. You cannot get someone knee deep in a game if you don't even get a foot on the door. And the fact that the music was the one that brought Senna in there, like, awesome.
Because like I think the only games I had played before, it was Blaze Blue. I picked it up at GameStop. I picked up Continuum Shift Extend for the Xbox 360 because it was at a GameStop, and I was like, I decided I wanted to look it up on my phone, see what it was about, because I had never heard of it. It was a fighting game, and I was like, I played a little bit of Soul Calibur, I can try it. And it was like $15. It wasn't expensive because it wasn't a popular game around my area. Fighting games aren't huge here. So I picked it up. I was like, this game is hard, but I can fuck around with the simple controls. I can fuck around with it. I don't care about the music. Actually, I didn't really like the continuum shift extend music that much. I didn't care for it.
Yeah,
But
some of the
Yeah,
original
until-
tracks aren't that great, but the second tracks
until
for some
CP.
characters are good.
Yeah, until Chrono Phantasma, where Daisuke redid it, was basically bad.
Certain
I
characters
played
like
it. It's a casual button mashing game. It was fun.
It
but,
was
like,
fun, and
when
on
I
the
tried
offline
to
modes are
learn
good.
combos and stuff at first, I was like, I don't really like it that much. I don't know if it's just because the characters. Because in Continuum Shift Extend, there wasn't a character that really appealed to me. I just wanted to try it, fuck around. It wasn't until I played Bullet and Hibiki in Central Fiction that I was like, okay, I could try this game out for real. But even then, I haven't really stuck with it. It's just kind of on the side. I can do a couple basic combos with Hibiki and have a little fun that way and do decent. Like when I fight against Kappa here, who is pretty good when it comes to BlazBlue, I have gotten, 2-3 wins maybe in all the time we've played together in that game.
Oh yeah, like you've accumulated a few wins here and there.
And I can say for somebody who's not like playing it as like my main game, that's already damn good. So I can play the game and have some fun. Would I try and teach someone how to play it? Probably not. It's not a game that I want to recommend to people as like a first game. Like if you want to play BlazBlue, I'd say give Guilty Gear a shot first. Give Guilty Gear Strive, DNF Duels, something else a shot first that's a little more simple. And then if you want to go back and play Central Fiction, that's cool. Hell, you might even find it as a fun first game, but I wouldn't necessarily recommend it just because there's so many things that I don't understand even after playing for this long.
I agree with that sentiment. Please just do something else before you play BlazBlue.
Well,
Like you
BlazBlue
could
was my
play
first
Cross
game.
Tag Battle first.
Well, Blaze was my first game, so I went into the Fire Flames with it.
Oh god.
Oh Jesus Christ! Okay.
And hell, if you want to talk about like issues in accessibility, there wasn't really like accessible beginner content for the game. Like if you looked at BlazBlue on YouTube, first things that show up are like high level tournament stuff, like fucking old Evo clips, like Frosty Faustings, where like we have like competitive BlazBlue players who've been playing this series for years. That's everyone's first look at the game. Versus Guilty Gear Strive, it's new. You're not looking at clips from like 5 years ago of people doing matches. Like if I search like if I just search up BlazBlue right now, the first video that shows up is the 100 hours into a fighting game experience by
Oh,
Scoria.
I know what you're talking about. I
which
know exactly what you're
is
talking about.
Very recent, 7 months ago. But then, like, the second video is BlazBlue Central Fiction worth playing in 2022? That's already a title that's gonna turn a lot of people away from it. And like from then, it's just like stuff like that. But the like first video that I would have seen a while back isn't even like, it's gonna be, why is Izanami so terrifying? That does not make me want to play BlazBlue.
That definitely would, like, even for someone like me, I see that I'm like, oh god, not this bitch again. I need something to like as if I already needed something to reinforce my hatred for this character. Yeah, show me some fuck shit, Kizzy.
Yeah, I think it was an LK video. I think it's an LK video.
No, it was no.
Oh, no, it's Coefficient. It's Coefficient.
Coefficient
But that's still
and
like
Kizzy.
a year ago.
Yeah, overall, I think
Pretty
the major thing that we can all like agree on is the fact that I like how we just kind of diverged away from like Daisuke's vision to BlazBlue, but it does bring up a good point, just the fact that all these games with different like levels of accessibility alone isn't even a bad thing. I think that if you handle it well, like even games like Fighters, who are rooted in so much controversy with the way some of their accessibility worked, like I will be truly honest when I say some of the accessibility that game has pissed me off to no end. Primarily, as we can all agree, the auto combo system tracking your location like better than the CIA ever could. I swear to God, it's the most infuriating thing on the planet. But I will give it one thing. It gave Arc System a big target on the map of the FGC. It blew them up so sky high. It literally made Arc System bigger than it already is now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the
And
one thing I
probably
want.
the least accessible thing about BlazBlue compared to Guilty Gear Strive, there's no starter guide videos from Arc System Works. The one thing that Guilty Gear Strive has done that already makes it more accessible, like before you even jump into the game, is they have starter guide videos for every single character.
Literally
that
minutes
explains
after the trailer
move.
drops.
You don't have to do the move to understand. You can just go on YouTube, search Guilty Gear Strive starter guide, and it's Arc System Works videos in a playlist. You don't have to watch somebody else's video that's like 20 minutes long. You can look at the 3 or 4 minute guide to a character, and you know all of their specials, and if there's any notable normals or command normals that you need to know of, it'll show. There's even like little short sample combos that they do in the video.
The
I
beautiful
think
thing
that
I like about
alone
them
made it
too.
good.
The beautiful thing I like about them too is like in the guides, even if they don't teach you the most optimal ways of using them, the fact is that they even explain like the properties in which these moves could be used, and like ideally speaking, the design choice of what they want these moves to be used for. They're not going to teach you like the applications of the normals and how and the win conditions and all this stuff, but they will tell you just like overall how they themselves have why they created the character, how they designed that character to be implemented into the game. Like they themselves go out of their way in about less than 5 minutes, or like 5 minutes or less, to tell you like, hey, by the way, we made this character and we want you to know that we made a character that can work on these kinds of things, and you know, these are the properties of the moves, these are the applications we think we believe you should use them best for, and we have how it combats certain problematic characters. Like deadass, they have characters like when they did the I think it was the Nago guide, they basically taught you the applications of his blood mechanic and also how it works. And then on Twitter, when they dropped the season patch notes, and they showed like aspects of the moves that were enhanced, changed, and the new properties that worked, and they showed the before and after applications before too. Arc System has significantly gotten better at displaying these, and if you look in the command list, they even show you a physical representation, an example of what it looks like in game, of what the move looks like and how it looks like when you execute it properly. That's something I can appreciate. Levels of accessibility so minute, but they go a long way.
And also,
And what's crazy is I can look back at the playlist, and I can see I watched the starter guide for Geo. I watched the starter guide for Nago. I watched Milia's because I did play Milia for a very short period of time. I looked at Jacko's when she came out. I watched the entire thing for all of those, and for Bridget and Testament, mainly for Testament, because I was like, I know what this character looked like before. I don't know what they look like now. And just watching the starter guide, I was like, I can do that. It's because they explained how you can use the moves. And that was so, like, it opens up a new world for new players. Like, I can look into a new player's mind, and they might know how to do the specials, but they might not know how to use the specials. When I looked at Geo for the first time, I figured out how to do her motion inputs. I didn't understand the use of her spiral arrow to go through projectiles until I watched her starter guide. So just simple things like that I'm not reading all those text boxes in the actual game. I'm not doing that shit. I'll either work it out as I play, or I'll watch a starter guide for the character and work off that.
Roa,
I think that alone was so accessible.
And for Roa, I want to ask you specifically, because you've been to multiple events, you've probably experienced a lot of different games like IRL, like when these dropped or when they had the demos and stuff like that. Like what was your biggest challenge when they kind of displayed all these new features, and on top of that, like all these games that you basically got to work with? What is like your biggest challenge when it came to the whole accessibility option, like the accessibility things, you know what I mean?
Well, the biggest challenge I had with the game was trying to learn is how does each thing, how does all my moves work, how they chain together, how it changes together, and how can I combo and have it ultimately be sound. But when you're doing a demo, because basically with some of the demos I was playing, it only allow you one game. So basically, we have a gentleman's agreement of two game of it's best having 2 games of testing shit out. Then we lose one of each other, and then the last game we go all out.
So best 2 out of 3.
Yeah, it's just only one game, and they just kicked us off. So
All right.
basically, that's what the Japanese players do as well. Is when during testing was you play one game, win one, try to test your stuff out, play the other game, test your shit out, and then the last game you go all out.
So it's like you kind
That
of you
feels
both
really inaccessible. What the fuck?
like you both basically like figure out shit like with the limited time. You both figure out like, oh, this move does this, or this move like this is the
Yeah.
property, or whatever the fuck. Like you guys are testing that, and then like in the very last game, you basically take whatever you learned and then apply it in the game, like the final game.
Yes.
All right. And in that time, like, were there any other resource? Like, how were the resources back then? Like, like, I know it's plentiful now, but like, how was it then? Like, how difficult was it to kind of manage, like, figuring things out back in the day?
It was difficult, I would say. Because I tried Street Fighter 5. I tried Street Fighter 5 at Evo. It was because I can't, because under the constraints that we have, I can't understand everything for it. And plus, I never played Street Fighter at all. I never really played Street Fighter, but I did. But the most time I did play in demo was Persona 4 Arena. When that happened, I just try to look up everything and see how everything goes. I have no idea what character I choose, and if just like no, my main for Persona is Elizabeth, which she is a very much a meter resource management.
Who was it again?
character.
Because I couldn't hear it. Elizabeth? Oh, yeah, her, yeah.
Yeah. I
Alright.
didn't play Persona 4 Arena.
She was the most
unfortunately.
technically sound character I played up to that point. Only because I had to learn how to do one more cancels into her super.
All right.
Uh,
Now that we've gone on like a record for like all this accessibility and shit like that, and you know, I wanna take that time to like be able to criticize other things and be able to give feedback on other things, but we'll get back to this topic at a later point, maybe like towards the conclusive part of this podcast. But one of the main things I want to point out is that, and I know that some of you in this chat, especially like Ice and Senna, or possibly even Inari, I know all of you at one point have experienced this, especially as streamers. Like, I want to talk about the biggest gripes when it comes to people, like in the FGC when you're playing a game, and I want to talk about one of my biggest gripes, especially in the FGC, is when people come into your chats and they immediately, as you're trying to play the game, right, they basically try to give you advice, right? And you know, I know that like I hear people like trying to help me, and you know, I ask, but my biggest gripe personally, and you guys could probably agree with me on this, you guys may have different gripes, but I want to talk about this one and see how you guys feel about it, is when people come into chat to criticize the way you're playing or try to give you advice you didn't even fucking ask for. How, like, have you guys had the experience, this experience?
dear.
the big
And-
hold on. I
and-
have to give mine on this one.
Yeah.
I
Go for
had
it.
this the
Hold
other
on,
day. I had
hold
this
on, hold
the
on.
other day straight up.
Hold on,
when we
before
were
I
the
continue,
last time
before I
streamed
let you
Strive.
finish that, I want to ask you that, guys, this, because in my opinion, I was also problematic about this, and Senna and I, we both know where this is going, because one of the biggest examples I can see is when we were playing Strive for the like early days, and we met Volt. We'll talk about that later, but you remember
Oh.
me, you, and Volt.
Oh,
Like, that
Yeah,
was a chaotic mess, but we'll get to that shortly. I want to get everyone's feedback on it, but I'm gonna start from Inari, then Ice, then Roa, then you last, Senna, because like you've
Yeah.
been very like active in the chat, and I want to give everybody else an opportunity.
Yeah.
So we'll go with Inari first.
Oh. Let's see.
Back City, yes.
Okay. Lucky enough, I haven't encountered any viewers or chatters that I don't know that gave me advice in a very invasive and aggressive way. Most of the people that have given me advice in my chat have been people I know. And they know how much I don't like backseating because, again, like, even as a fighting game player, I am a heart player, not a frame player.
Rise up,
like,
hype players, rise up.
Let's go, rise
like if someone were to tell me, dude, use your 16 frame punish, bruh, do you think I know which
what
of
the
my
fuck that
moves
means.
comes out in no, I know what that
My
means.
brother in Christ, which one is the 16 frame play?
I know what that means, but do you think I know which one of my moves in Tekken no less comes out in 16
Oh, God.
frames?
I have
Oh.
my brother in Christ. I have a catalog of 80 moves plus, probably 120 if you're lay. Which fucking move is
Which
16 frames?
bro, I'm
one?
pulling out the fucking Sears catalog to find my 16 frame punish.
Like,
Let me
that's
bust out the
thing,
holy
like,
Bible for this one.
a lot of people have given me some advice on Tekken especially, and these are people I know, and they know how to give advice. Like, people like, your best poking tool is ask us down forward 4. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, okay, yeah, awesome. Like, they basically give me stuff that I should know, but they don't give it in like a condescending manner, like, actually, your optimal punish there is 2-3. Brother, I just want to press buttons. Like, I know it says I'm practicing for a tournament.
For the people in chat, hold on. I'm gonna turn off my filters. And you guys can hear this too because I have noise suppression off on Discord. I'm going to give people right here. Listen to this chat. Does that sound like fun to you? Because I'll tell
What?
you what, that shit is fun. That sounds like fun, heaven, and guerrilla activity. I want to press buttons, so let me press buttons. Continue.
Like, generally, everyone has their own method of learning. Like, yeah, sure, I'm not using the most optimal punish, but the whole reason why I'm doing it this way is because I'm gonna look at this shit later. Because real time, like in an actual tournament, do you really think that the TOs are like, oh, you want to look at your little notes there on what your optimal punishes are? Yeah, go ahead. Or do you think your opponent is gonna give you like 5 minutes to even like, yo, dude, I need to check what I should have done that last match? No! You don't have time for that. The only time you have to analyze your matches on what you should do and what you could have done is literally before or after you're done playing. That's it.
Yeah.
And knowing that, I'm like, I have to be able to either one, learn on the fly, which is safe. 2, try shit on the fly, which is a lot more dangerous. Or 3, just not give a shit, which is more fun, but obviously like the worst choice of the 3 subjectively. But for me, because I prioritize fun over anything else, I'm doing either option 1 or 3. 2 or 3. I'm either experimenting on the fly or I'm just not giving a shit and just playing with what I know right now.
Asuka Nago 5K as an example for that.
Yeah, that one. That's fucking god button.
Yeah,
But
it's-
like, honestly, like, hey, if I get punished for this move, I'm like, okay, now I know. it's just like it's a rank match. Like, okay, it's not in a tournament. Okay, now I know. Or like, oh, I could have punished with this move instead. Oh, that's a Chicago punish. Like, okay, now I know.
Chicago punish? What?
Yes,
I've
we
never.
call that
Yeah.
Chicago
See, I've
It's
heard
a
of.
term.
I've heard of the American reset, but I've never heard of the Chicago punish. What the fuck does
Oh.
that mean?
Okay, for
boy.
those who don't know what a Chicago punish is, a Chicago punish is basically it's just basically another way to say the most unoptimal punish. Like, let's say
You fat fingered basically, or you
No,
just
no,
pick
not
like
fat
a
fingered,
Tonga
like-
punish.
let's say a move is so minus, and instead of like launching them or whatnot, you either throw or you just do a short Gatling move. Like, for example, let's say you're Nago. Let's say you're Nago, you're like, oh, I could easily like counter hit this DP with 2H and then I'll go from there. But instead of doing that, you literally just do 5P, 5P, 6P. That's all you did instead.
Hey, yo, bro,
Like,
don't
yeah,
call me out like that. Don't call me out like that. Fuck you, bro. Don't you call me out like
sure.
that.
Like, yeah, sure, that is a natural string and a good punish, but you literally could have done down heavy slash, which is like when DPs are blocked or whiff, as they are landing, they are in counter hit state.
My
So
brother
yeah,
in Christ.
you could have done 2HS, but you instead just went to instant reaction punish 5P, 5P, 6P. Okay, we're
It's
good.
like if I have you on the corner and I whiff ride the lightning and you 5P me when I land instead of hitting me with the fucking close slash.
Yeah, that, or a combo starter.
Hey, yo, bro, nice.
And yes, that has happened before.
I think I've done it to you once, not gonna lie. I think I've done it to you once early on, like as my Nago like was progressing. I think I've done that to you once. I think I tried to 6P or ride the lightning once too. Oh, this is like
Probably
early
worked.
doors,
This is
but yeah,
separate.
like to put it bluntly, as a wise man once said, and I'm gonna get close to the mic when I say this. I didn't pay $60 to be optimal or block. I'm going to press the shit out of these buttons. I paid $60 not to block. I will make my money's worth and mash the fucking buttons on your pressure. Respect is not something I have to give you. My monetary gain does not equate to the amount of respect I should give you as a player.
That's right.
And I will quote something I have said on Twitter, and I'm going to read it out loud for people in chat. This is a philosophy that I've created, and I hope that this is something that all of you can take with you deep in your hearts. He who demands that I respect their block string or their frame traps shall feel the overwhelming might of a man too stubborn to listen to the philosophies of wiser men.
And just to contrast, like one of my mutuals, y'all know Sheikah. Like,
Oh
whenever
my
I fight
fucking
Sheikah in
God.
Tekken, I'm +5. Why are you challenging my +5? Like, dude, do you think
You're only
think
minus if you're a bitch.
Do you honestly think I know that you're +5? I'm just going with instinct here. You're -12. Why are you? Do you think I know I'm -12?
Respect is
I
only.
did know. Thank you for letting me know.
Thank you for telling me.
Thank
but
you
I
for
didn't know
telling
that
me.
shit.
I didn't know. Fuck. But now I'm gonna do it even more.
Bold of you to think that 1, I know, and 2, I care that you are +5. You
Bold
really
of you.
think I care?
My man has
Bold
put
of
me
you
in.
to think that I'm thinking.
Bold of you to think. Bold.
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 Nah, Sheikah makes me laugh, dude, because it's like every time he thinks, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a genius. There's no way you can do anything to me. Literally, gold burst his pressure. That's supposed to be a safe jump. And he's like, I'm a genius. Gets counter hit once. Oh no.
Oh fuck.
Honestly, my best clip of Sheikah.
Oh no. So anyways.
When I was playing pot, and I literally did not sniff glue. I inhaled the glue.
My man was swimming in it.
I gold bursted his pressure, and I'm like, what would Chaos do? He would Kyra Buster, but I'm not Chaos. So what do? Oh, HPB. So I HPB, and he respects the cake drop. And he proceeds to say, I'm not falling for that shit. Literally, the next thing that I do is do it again, and he jumped slash. I'm like, you're not falling for what now?
I'm not falling for this shit. I'm not getting pop busted. Oh no, you are getting pop busted. But you
don't
see
have
my
a
boy.
choice.
But you see my boy.
Delayed.
The difference is I'm taking the
the
difference between that pop buster on the ground and the one I'm going to give you. I'm going to send you to Jesus. I'm going to send you to heaven. No, I'm gonna drag your ass to heaven to see the pearly gates, just so I can bring you back down to hell. There's a reason why it's called heaven or hell. There's a reason it's called heaven or hell. It's like I can choose either one, my boy.
But yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell. Whenever I play fighting games, especially on stream, I'm just chilling. I'm just having fun. Like all I care, I'm just doing whatever fuck shit I think is fun. And hey, if I get punished for it, if I lose for it, that's when I learn. That's when I learn.
You gonna learn today.
And it's not like I'm not open to advice. No, I'm open to advice. But don't fucking give advice to me like I'm a fucking child, okay?
Yeah.
Like there's a difference. Like again, I always say this a lot to people who don't like think twice before they say what they're going to say. Being an ass is not a prerequisite for being right. There is like, because again, like two messages, same message, two different ways to say it, two different meanings. It's like, for example, let's say that again, Senna picked up Nago, right, when he first tried Stripe.
Yeah, when I first tried,
yeah.
He was the first character I tried. Yeah.
Dear
So, yeah.
God, Neko, our jump scare.
He is.
Yeah.
There he is.
There
Yep.
he is.
So like, yeah, let's say Senna was streaming Nago, and clearly the blood gauge mechanic is definitely not up his alley. Two kinds of viewers. You have one that's basically the opposite of what I said. Like, they think that to be correct, they have to be an ass on stream. So they'll say, dude, your Nago sucks. You should really pick someone easier because, like, clearly, this guy has too much skill for you to, like, learn and play and whatnot. Like, wow, what a dick.
Yeah, I would have been fucking pissed if somebody said that to me.
But, like, there's another viewer who will say...
Me in chat.
But then there's someone else who's like, have you tried other players, or are you really going with Nago as your main? Like,
Yeah, and I probably wouldn't take offense to that.
yeah, because it is an honest question, and it still implies something, but like, it is an honest question because as a viewer, you wouldn't, especially if you're a first-time viewer, you wouldn't know if Senna picked up Stripe for the first time unless he mentioned it on his stream. And number two, you don't know if he's picking up Nago as a main or he's just trying out Nago, so you have really no clue.
Right, because if I picked up, like, if I decided today I was gonna pick Nago up, I would still suck at him. I'm gonna be real. I would still be absolute garbage at playing him. The difference between seeing me play Nago back then and now it would be exactly the same because I don't know how to play him to this day. I don't know how he plays, and I'm not used to his buttons. So no matter how hard I like actively play him, it's gonna look exactly the same as last time because I have barely played him.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things. It's one of those things too where it's like actively playing the character does not exactly equate to knowing how to fight him. Like, I feel like in Senna's case too, because I fought Senna so
I
much.
know that.
I've fought Senna so many times now, like since the launch of Strive, that like even I don't even want to be conceited, but I'm gonna quote it from the man's mouth himself that ever since I fought Senna as frequently as I have, my man like doesn't win against my Nago often, but any other Nago he's ever fought in towers or in casuals, he has a much better track record by comparison.
Like, yeah, straight up in tower, I have a 100% win rate against Nago.
And the thing
after
is that
fighting Kappa.
And the thing is like too, like you can have a better idea of how to fight it. When you can have a much better way of fighting a character, but like playing the character doesn't inherently mean you're gonna fight the character well. But if you have experience against the character, if you play the character, you at least have a better idea of what the character can do. It's just a matter of how you fight it. But one does not equal the other
that's
one.
my worst matchup.
Yeah.
My lowest win rate in tower is against other Geo players. Like, despite being a Giovanna main, she is the one the character that I do not know how to fight against, because every time I fight her, it's a mirror match. I don't know how to approach the fucking mirror. I don't know how to approach that mirror for shit.
Should see my track record against Eno. Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Bro, I swear to God, funny enough, you guys are gonna be surprised. Like, my best 3 matchups are not against the matchups you guys would think. My 3 best matchups are not against, like, I will give you guys an opportunity to guess who my 3 best matchups are.
Ram.
Nope.
May,
Nope.
Milia.
She's one of them, yes.
I was gonna say Milia.
I knew Milia would be one. I'm thinking Testament would be one.
Fuck no.
Jacko.
Wow, that's
Oh hell no. You barely see Jackos on Strive.
All right then. Gold Lewis Dickinson.
Oh no. No.
Okay, good.
Well, I would say it's decent, but it's like, I'm talking about like most matches played, you know what I mean? Like, these are like minor matches, like the most matches played, and then the best track record for those characters.
Faust.
Nope. It's actually
Really?
terrible. That's a shitty track record for me. I'm telling you right now. No.
Soul.
No. Actually, Soul's
Kai?
okay, but Kai, Nago, you'd be surprised. It's actually not Nago. Soul, bad guy. Yeah, Soul is decent, but I haven't played the most of him. I'm gonna tell you right now, the 3 best matchups I have across the board that I've played the most about, I've played like Milia, Baiken, and I believe Giovanna.
That would make sense. That one would check out, because you fight against. I don't think. Am I like the only Geo player you like actively fight against?
No. I'm talking about like in towers too. Like in tower. Like, I fought, because I don't think it counts your casual record. It counts your,
it doesn't. It only counts your.
It counts your tower
actual
record.
in tower. It doesn't count park or lobbies.
Yeah, like
when you look on rating update.
In tower, I fought so many Giovannas on launch. I fought more Giovannas on launch and for the months preceding after that than I did Soul. And this is when Soul was objectively much better in the game than any other character. And
yeah,
I fought less Mays, I fought quite a bit of May, but I fought less Leos, I fought less Souls, I fought a lot of Anji, I fought less Nagos. Nagos was a rare one until Hotashi won Evo. Yeah, tear whoring pieces of shit. Y'all talk so much shit about my character, but look at you.
Hey, not me. I was not part of that.
Not you guys in general, not you guys, but I'm talking about the people at home that were shit talking my boy at day 1, saying he was bottom 3 with Anji and Potemkin. How fucking dare you? Like, you brought this upon yourself. If I'm top tier now, you could suck my dick. I am a Hakumen enthusiast. I live for the big neutral boy. The fact that he is a Nigerian brick shithouse who can literally push your shit in faster than anything I could waffle stomp, yeah, I'm gonna blame you all for that. Yeah, overall though, those are my best matchups, and that's just how I felt about the whole thing. But like going back to the gripes, Roa, have you experienced any do you have any like major gripes that you've ever had, like when it came to like fighting games, especially streaming them?
Gripes, not really. I very stream fighting games because I felt like my time is a bit past for like these new ones. With DNF, I love the game, but it's pretty much same old. It's just auto. It's just a lot of easy things that goes on, and just I'll say this: the gameplay loop is very bad for this game, for that game. Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people haven't been playing it as much, right? Because
It's-
they're not a fan
the
of the
game-
gameplay loop.
Yeah.
the gameplay loop is just bad.
Like, I think it's one of those things where even Strive has this problem sometimes, but I feel like DNF Duel has just this problem so much more. Yeah, but finalizing this topic, or actually we're not even finalizing it just yet, but going on to Ice here, because I know you yourself have had people come about in your chats, but I want to know if you've come across any gripes when it came to like playing fighting games, especially like when you were fresh on the scene with it.
Gripes that I had. I actually,
Because you host a lot of like viewer lobbies too. That's why I asked you.
I like hosting viewer lobbies, and I guess my one gripe is I understand it because I'm kind of the same way, and I get the appeal where it's just like I don't want to be the guy that like when I host a viewer lobby, I'm like, okay, this isn't a thing about me. This is like a community thing. I want everyone to kind of hop in here and have a good time. And it's gotten better recently. It's gotten so much better. But I really can't fucking stand it when people make a line just so that they can fight me. Because I'm just like, I want everyone to fight everyone. It's just like I'll have people I of course love to fight. I love fighting like almost everyone, but I also want everyone else to experience fighting everyone. It's just like, oh yeah, I love fighting Senna. And it's like, oh yeah, I love fighting Grouse. Hey, Grouse, you should fight Senna.
And we're more willing to square up, and I mean, I don't really see you in Ice's viewer lobbies most of the time when we're playing. I think
That's
because you're usually streaming yourself.
true.
Yeah,
Or that.
pretty much.
Yeah, and you have
Yeah.
stuff you have to do. Then
Yeah.
I don't, so I
There's-
stay up really late.
The thing I would say is because of us streamers is we host like viewer lobbies. The people who do the viewers wants their chance just to show us off.
Yeah.
And show us off on stream. See how.
If
Yeah.
someone new comes into my chat and is just like, hey, I want to fight, then I'll be like, all right, bet, let's run a quick set and let's see what happens. And if you're like if there's only a handful of people here, I'll run a couple extra sets with you and just kind of see how it goes. Actually, you know what? Nobody fucking knows how to fight Eno. And I'm happy about that, because I
You're so right. You're so right, though. That's the sad part.
I take names. I fucking know what I'm doing. I do most of the time. Alright. I know what I'm... Most of the time, I know what I'm doing. And it's enough for me to, like, eke out a lot of wins against, like, very strong players. And I'm just like, okay, that's awesome. I'd like for you to keep coming back. Not so that I can... So that, one, I can't
Not
keep
so I can
fighting
keep dunking on someone, but
Oh yeah,
Just,
yeah.
but like, I want other people to also like. I want to kind of grow the community as a whole. I weirdly don't want to be in the center of attention for it.
I've got
Yeah,
a
like,
really
you're
good
just
question,
hosting
but
the
I'm letting
lobby,
you
you're not
continue. I have a
really-
very good question with this, but I want to wait until you finish.
That's like, you know what? Ask your question. I'm curious.
All right, this is something that I myself kind of feel bad for, but at the same time, I start feeling stop feeling apologetic about it, and I'm now apologetic as shit about it. Like the whole concept of like, what lengths do I have to not play the way I want to play just for you to have fun? You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
oh,
This is especially true like if you're fresh or you're not that like I would say you're not that dedicated to the game, right? Like you're casual to the game. You know what you're doing, but you're not like super super into the game. Like say for instance if I was actually I'm going to just make a real example. If I myself at my current skill level fought a dude who was curious to fight me, and this person doesn't have a lot of like experience, a lot of skill, like he doesn't stand on the same ground as me because he hasn't spent the amount of time or the dedication to the time that I've put into the work necessary to get better at the game with the character that I have. And then I play against his character and I absolutely demolish him live on stream or just demolish them period, and they're not having fun anymore. And like it's in this crossroads where you're having fun, you're playing the game, you're playing the game and this is how you have fun, but they're not having fun. So it's like
expense of someone.
Yeah, you're basically having fun at the expense of someone else not having fun. Have you guys ever like really come across that and that like
so
moral
many
dilemma?
times.
I have a story for that if you don't mind.
Go for it.
This is like, I feel so bad for telling this story, even though it has a very good outcome and ending to it. I feel so fucking bad for this story. There's not a day goes by where I don't feel bad about it. I have learned, I've had to it's not easy to learn how to like go easy on people, especially when you're like in your prime and you're feeling yourself, and it's just like
without making it seem like you're
fucking
condescending, right?
Yeah, there's a balancing act we have to do.
So
Like,
difficult.
I have to not go full ham without not looking like, oh, they're giving the person the win.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to look like a prick live on stream.
And one of the things I learned that because I made the mistake of pissing people off by going apeshit 100% all the time.
So me.
And one of those people was Zipst back when he first got the game.
Oh yeah.
And I still feel bad about this. I fucking like went hard on Zipst back when he first got the game.
Literally day one. My man ran his fade.
I ran his fade. I feel so fucking bad for it. He did come back. He is like a fantastically strong player now.
Yeah.
He's it is
What
amazing.
does Zips play again?
Leo.
Zips plays
He plays
Leo.
Leo.
Oh yeah.
Zips
I fought his Leo. My man has so much fucking like ability to be able to just like manhandle your shit. It's just that adapting is something that he struggles with.
The fact that Zipst had the wherewithal and the mentality, the way he Zipst saw it was like, I planted kind of a seed, and he's just like, I want to come back stronger, rather than like, this is pointless, I don't see a point to doing this. And that's like, I 100% commend Zip's spirit and mentality for that, because if he didn't have that mentality, then I probably ruined somebody's like career in fighting games, and I did it very mercilessly. So I like remind myself, I'm like, okay, I really should know when and how to pull my punches if I have to, because I don't want to repeat this scenario. That was very fucking lucky, and I'm so happy that Zips is still around and a very strong player as well. But like, it's kind of just like, okay, this is like my reminder. I need to be aware of this, and it kind of it does terrify me to some capacity, because like what's it called? One of my friends, Orange, one of my mods, also got Guilty Gear recently. And he's just like, oh, I want to try the game out. I saw Bridget. Bridget looks super cool.
Bridget's kind of keck W, not gonna lie.
Yeah. But he's just like, yeah, I want to try Bridget out. I want to try the game out. So I'm like, all right, sure. And Orange is a homie. He got me King of Fighters 15, like back when it was still at full price. And I'm just like,
and
all right.
still broken.
Yeah, and So I was like, hey man, I'm gonna buy you Guilty Gear. I'm gonna get you all the DLC for Guilty Gear as well, since you did this for me and I want to do this for you. So you want to get into it? Let's get into it. So I'm like, now that I'm like, now that I'm better at pulling my punches, just because of like that one instance of like I learned the hard way of what could have fucking happened had I not pulled my punches, then I'm more conscientious of it. So I'm willing to like take my time and be like, okay, this is how things work. This is what you can do. Have questions, then we can go over stuff, but let's just have a good time and focus on that. So that's my story of going too hard on someone, because Jesus fucking Christ, I ironically needed to chill. And I'm glad I had a wake up call. I'm glad I had an awakening to that sort of bullshit, because Old Ice was probably Old Ice was a motherfucker.
Yeah, that's actually a really good like peak look into the mentality. Like that's literally in the title, just like the mentality of being a player in the FGC. And this is where I really get into the nitty and gritty of like some of like this topic, on top of like all the extra things that come with it. But how this is why I feel like this genre in general, and why I feel like a lot of people have a very tough time entering the genre, even with all this accessibility, even with all these new changes that cater to casual newcomers. I will always say from like that like simplifying a game does not innately mean you're bringing in new players. Just because you cater to a casual audience doesn't mean that they're going to give two fucks about the game. It's how you, because if you're giving simplified gameplay, you're not innately, without the direction of making a game fun, what's the point of the simplification of the gameplay? You're just ruining a person's experience and reducing the depth your game has, just for the sake of casual audiences to enter your game and just press buttons and do bullshit. And that's why I think Strive does it right, because it's like, as casual as it can be, there's complexity to it. I think if you want to talk about a game that really does this well, Uniclear, Under Night in Birth, does this really well. The clear version. But
Yeah.
going back to what I said though, like as a player and the expectations that come with it too, what were some of your like, if you could just summarize it really fast, just your biggest expectations when you entered the FGC, and just overall when you start to get serious about when you started getting serious about it, or when you first entered as a newcomer or a new competitor, like what were your expectations? Because for me, I was very results based.
I will say probably like the first thing, I guess I'm gonna say I started off differently from like everyone else, is I did not start off as a results-based player. I came in with the expectation that any ego I have will be humbled. Like day one, I'm probably not going to win a single game for like at the very least the first week that I play, because I'm not used to these controls. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I don't even know what character I want to play yet. And it was true. When I first started, I did not know what the fuck I was doing. I got like one win in Tower, but like I lost like most of my games. I had maybe like 3 wins out of like the 40 or 50 rounds I did play in Tower. And when I started, remember I started at locals, so I really was not expecting to like go in and get wins. Like I'm not thinking, oh, I can pick this up, get a couple wins, get on, learn some more stuff, get more wins, and so on and so forth. I wasn't thinking that. I went in fully expecting to lose, but I was like, I want to learn. That was my priority when it came to it. I wanted to learn and not like just play. I wanted to learn, not just pick it up and press buttons. That was my big intro, is I wanted to get in. I wanted to learn and actually become a proper, or what I thought of as a proper part of the FGC. And that did have a sort of like impact on how I started off in the game, compared to one of my friends who I'm not gonna name drop them because even though they're not on Twitch, they prefer to be like more private about stuff. But he is like the other chip player that I face on a regular basis, who is also incidentally the reason that Sheikah does not like fighting against my Kai. A lot of the stuff that I use against Sheikah is stuff that I learned while fighting that friend. That friend of mine is a very results based when it comes to playing not just fighting games but games in general. He mainly plays to win, so it was a lot harder for him to get into fighting games because we have talked about it together. Like he's on like a very similar playing level as me now because we progressed at different rates early on. He really like used to like rage a lot, and we would only play for like really short periods of time because he went in wanting to win and he did not get that. Like he was like he learned the hard way that you're not going to get easy wins in this game. You're going to work for every single win you ever get. And I will also talk about that topic. Chaos, we might as well talk about it now since we're here with our friend
Volt. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll let at the very least I want everybody else to get an opportunity to talk about this. Like the people like who've like had less to say because like we've been like kind of taking over. What were your initial impressions and how did you like, and what were the kind of expectations you had as you kind of progressed?
In fighting games in general?
Yeah, just in fighting games. Like when you were a newcomer and you progressed, you know, like you basically were drawn in. Like what were your expectations and what was the kind of impression you had? If you could summarize it.
I honestly think I am a living, breathing, statistical, like, embodiment of what Twitch chat hates in a fighting game player. I am so disgustingly casual. Like if I take a loss and I'm not mad, they're like, this guy doesn't fucking care.
Oh well, I hold the L. It happens. I mean, shit. Okay.
Like I don't know. Like I'm almost so chill whenever I lose.
You're like
it's
so
not
disconnected
like when it's
from that.
unless of course it's like because of shitty netcode or like Southeast Asian internet, like boop DC, like fuck no. But outside of that, like in a straight up match, if I lose, I'm like, oh okay, cool, I learned something. I'm not really results based, but like of course it's not like I don't try to win. No, of course I do try to win. Winning's fun, and I would be lying if I said that losing is fun. No, losing is not fun, but there is a way to make losing a lot less stressful and like
Keck.
a lot more how do I say this, educational
And
but
more
yeah,
entertaining too.
yeah, and just by saying that, I'm pretty sure like the general Twitch chat is like, what the fuck, you don't care, you don't care that you lost, what the fuck, why did you pay $40 to $60 for this game just to lose? I'm like, brother, if I did not buy this game to win, I bought this game to have fun. And that will always be my philosophy in any game, be it competitive or casual. And I say competitive or casual because I don't give a crap about the genre here. Fighting game, FPS game, RPG, racing game, a MOBA, doesn't matter. Casual or competitive, the first thing that I care about is having fun. Now again, it's not like I don't... Yeah, it is a game. It's not like I don't care about winning. Like, no, I want to win. Of course I want to win. Winning's fun. And I don't want to lose because losing sucks. But I would be lying also if I said that I haven't had fun losing. Like, no, there are times whenever I lose and I learn a lot of like really cool tech or what. Okay, that was hilarious. Like, okay, that's I'm not even mad that I lost. But like, it always has been that way, Kappa. When it comes to fighting games in general, I'm not at all results based. I am very like, is this game fun? Is it like fun in general, like fun to learn, fun to lab, fun to play, fun to grind, fun to do solo, etc. If it's just fun, that's good enough for me. Like balance and everything can come later, because those are things that I have no control of. I have no control over how the devs will change the game, how they will balance certain characters, how they will handle the netcode. I literally have no control of over that. So my only worry is what I do have control of, which is my personal experience and my overall perspective and philosophy when it comes to fighting games. If I am results driven, then surely a loss, no matter how minute, like if I don't get demoted or I just rank down like once, it's still gonna bother the shit out of me, even if it's a fair matchup, because I'm results driven. But if I'm not at all results driven, like, okay, cool, I lost. Okay, next one. That's literally it. I'm
Alright.
not saying that there is no merit to being results driven. No, like when you are results driven, you are just that much more driven to be better, and you will be able to put in more time, like labbing, improving, analyzing, and you won't even notice how long you've been doing it, that you're not even exhausted. Like,
Oh, guys, good news. Sorry to
Mhm.
interrupt. Unagi asked if she could still join.
Yeah,
Let me
join in.
let me bring
Of
her in.
course.
Let
Hell
me
yeah.
yeah. So
yeah.
let me add her in, and let me see if she can send me the link.
Video. Yeah.
Yeah, and the
Alright.
video. But while we're waiting, can we finish that thought so we can move on to Roa and Ice on this
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
perspective?
Yeah. I'm wrapping it up anyway. So basically, yeah, like of course, when you are results driven, you have your energy is now being focused on just getting better. So it feels better, you feel less tired, it doesn't feel like a chore anymore, it feels more natural. But when you're not results driven, any loss, any win, it doesn't really matter as long as you're having fun, and that also has its merit. So yeah, that's basically it for me.
All right, Roa, you're up.
Yeah. Repeat that.
So like, what kind of struggles, like when what were your kind of initial impressions, and what kind of obstacles did you face as a newcomer, as well as as you progressed through the genre? What kind of expectations did you have, and what kind of obstacles like stood in your way? If you could summarize that, and I'll extend that to Ice as well.
Pretty much when I started with Calamity Trigger with Blaze Blue, is basically I hit the ground running. It's just learning, trying to figure out who's my main and all that. Then after a while, I chose New 13. Then, like a few months after, I'll just say it. I used to live in Vegas before for years, and during that time, Climbing Trigger came out. Arxis was holding a tournament at Evo. So it's my turn at Evo. So I just went in, and I never experienced the FGC as it is. That was my first time just to experience the FGC in person. So I go in, I signed up, I played. It was basically experience because I almost won a game, but this guy behind me was just yelling the hell out of me. He just for his friend, just yelling and near right next to my ear as well. So that's as soon as he won, I just stood up and just fucking I just did I just death stared him. He just said,
My man pulled a Luigi on him. He's just like, Ouija.
I wasn't wanting to say just
Hello,
everyone-
Nagi.
I wanted to say just shut the fuck up.
I see a
Right,
I see a
That's not
motherfucker.
targeted towards you, Unagi. That's not targeted towards
I see a motherfucker.
Hi.
All right, can you send me your video link so that way I can put it into the chat? Yeah, this is actually a good opportunity because this question actually you could step in like right away after these two get their questions out of the way. All right, so continue.
Yeah, so after that I took a little bit of a break of the game, then I just went back to it. I met a bunch of friends I still am friends to them to this day online, and then so I became a new main throughout the new Atlanta main throughout the whole series. It's basically I have. That's all the struggle. That's the struggles I came up. For like newer games with my struggles, it's just how do I adapt my logic of thinking into this game?
So, okay.
Yeah, how do I adapt my logic of thinking into this game? Persona, it was easy because it was pretty much Arxis. It was an Arxis game, so I just adapt to it. But like it was something like DNF Duel, I had to adjust a little bit. And then there's Under Night and Birth, which I tried, and that was a reality check for me.
Oh shit! Nah, keep going.
I cannot handle these micro dash combos. I can say.
Yeah, that's all good, man. Like everything, that's just a major issue that we all kind of face in general. Just the difficulty of the fucking FGC just alone can like be a bit of a bitch. I will not lie to you. Is there more to it, or was that like your conclusive thought? All right.
That's about it.
All right, then let me just move everybody aside so that way I can actually like fit in Unagi into the chat. Like it's getting kind of clustered real quick. So Ice, you now have a new person to place on top, like place you on top of. So Senna, you are now demoted from being Ice's personal
let's go, no more wet hair.
No more, you're no longer the helicopter pad. You are now the
Kappa need it.
No, I'm it's because you guys are in the guest room. Like I can't put it on the host because I got the hat on. It wouldn't make my hair wet. It wouldn't make my hair wet. I'm shielded. None of you have a shield, so I need to make you suffer. All of you must suffer today. All right, so because for the sake of the stream, we're going to make Unagi the biggest one because she's she's the shining star in all of this, I feel.
Why?
Don't worry about it, Unagi.
Before we go on Ice, we haven't heard on yours, Ice, how like, you started out.
Yeah,
fighting games.
All right. There's a bit of a hefty story to that. So
all right,
back when I was in college was this was the time when I started taking Street Fighter V a lot more seriously. We the school didn't really know what the fuck they were doing, so they kind of were just like, "Oh, you guys want to do a Street Fighter team? Are there tournaments? Yeah? Alright, cool. We'll send you to them. Fuck yeah." So it was cool. But the guy that trained me and taught me everything that I know, like one of my close friends, he was a great friend, absolute bastard of a coach. I still kinda... I appreciate what he did, and I hate him for what he did. So, I was very goal-oriented, and obviously I was like, what's it called? How do you say that?
Results-based.
I was very goal-oriented. I was very objective-oriented. I wanted to, I took, like, my results very personally, and I always wanted to, like, make the most of my results, and, like, I always wanted to win, and it's just, like, it was really fucking bad, and it was a very bad mindset for me, and it took me getting my ass beat repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again by him to the point where I had a bit of a mental breakdown and had to go get therapy, realized I was a perfectionist, and then work through that whole thing of hoops. but it made me a better. I think it even like made me a better person as a whole because I realized, oh yeah, I am a perfectionist, but like that doesn't mean it has to define me. So
Perfection
games-
doesn't please me, basically.
perfection doesn't please me, and it's never going to please me because it's like it's an impossible thing to achieve to begin with. So Street Fighter taught me that, and then Guilty Gear Strive came out, and Guilty Gear Strive kind of came out during COVID, so I'm like, all right, I'm kind of on my own for this. But I fell in love with the character, I fell in love with the game, I fell in love with the music, and it's just like, I don't know, it's weird to kind of explain because the whole situation was like, it was really bad. I was in a really bad spot mentally, but then it's just like, I kind of think fighting games made me a significantly better person as a result. I went and got help. I went and it helped me sort through my problems, and I don't know. I'm less goal oriented now, and I'm less like, I'm kind of just like, I'm going to fucking go, and if you stop me, good on you. It's kind of just been my mentality now, and I don't know, it makes me happy because I can look back and see the progress. It's night and day. It makes me very happy to kind of reminisce on all of the things that happened to this point. Sorry if that got a little personal, by the by. It was this fighting.
It's fine.
I have a very fighting games and I have a very intimate connection because it's like it literally helped me a lot.
Nah, that makes sense. I mean, everybody's got their own personal stories to it. Some of them are a little bit more personal than others. Some of them just make you feel like, in some case or another, the way things are handled, I feel like everyone has some sort of validity to feeling a certain way about the way that their favorite game kind of just kind of made them feel like they could be better. They want to be better. But innately speaking, the way we all handle it is the fact that we all are only trying to make things right. We're all trying to have fun, all trying to reach a goal that can make us feel like, yeah, this is the kind of place I want to be in. This is the objective. I want to be good because this and that reason. I want to have fun because I feel like I'm doing well. When I'm doing well, I'm having fun. When I'm having fun, I'm doing well. It's kind of like a consistent effect of I do well, therefore I have fun. If I'm not doing well, I'm not having fun. Mm-hmm. But over time, this is why I say this is where the do's and the don'ts come in. Of when you're results driven, you basically are. While it can basically help you to want to become a stronger player, and I don't deny that it can make you a stronger player. I inadvertently believe that because that mindset is so based on wanting to improve on a result, it can be a very toxic mindset because now you're no longer having fun. You're trying to seek a result on something that clearly is making you feel some type of way. And it makes you feel pathetic in a way. It makes you feel kind of low. It makes you feel frustrated. And I think for any newcomer, this is a very toxic place to be in. This is a very horrible place to be in because it makes you question, am I even good enough to really be in this kind of genre? Am I good enough to even try to even compete with people who have been doing this for much longer, much more who are much more dedicated than me? You start to put yourself in the position of, I'm bad. And I want to ask, because Unagi, if you don't mind me asking, and having you chip in for this, if you don't wish to, I understand, but I do recall in one of your streams you were feeling really bad, and I wanted to get your feedback as to what was going, like how you felt and like why you felt the way you did, because I know for you this was you're very dedicated, but you definitely were feeling the after effects, and I want to, if you could share with us, if you're comfortable, you could share your feelings when that happened.
Okay. So a little bit of context. It happens twice already. The first time was during that one time. I think it was my first week into Guilty Gear Strive. I was fighting against a bike game player at the park. Yeah. I got like 18 matches straight with that player and only won like two rounds. Yeah. I got so mad, okay? And I couldn't say anything on stream. My stream was like dead silence for 30 minutes straight. I got so mad and upset at myself, thinking of why am I not good enough? Why am I still so bad at this game? This and that, and yeah. And there's this second time, which is just happened like last week or 2 weeks ago. I forgot. I lost track. Okay. Anyways, I fought against Bridget players at the park for 40 matches straight. 40 matches straight with no wins. Yeah. And I got so upset at myself, I cried and broke down on stream. It was pretty embarrassing, I would say. Yeah, I got upset at myself for not being able to be good at this game, because I have a lot of very good mentors, a very supportive community of people that willing to spend their time, their precious time, to help me with learning this game. Yeah, I just felt like I'm such a disappointment for them, because they already spent their time teaching me the simple mechanics of Guilty Gear Strive, how to use files, how to use this special attack, how to do this combo, things like that. Yeah, I got really upset. That's pretty much it. Yeah, the only concern about me learning this game is I don't want to, people waste their time to teach someone that, couldn't how do I phrase this? Oops. They couldn't learn things effectively, Yeah. I just afraid I might become their disappointment. Yeah, maybe because of my personal upbringing in this family, in this household. The typical Asian family household. You don't want to be a bit disappointment to your teachers, to your parents, to your friends and family.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And
So,
this is sorry,
mm.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, it's okay. You can continue.
Yeah, and this is why, like, I brought you all together. This is why I brought
Yeah.
this podcast together, because I felt like this isn't just a sense of something for entertainment, even though we as streamers want to provide entertainment. And, this podcast was made with the intention of entertaining people and having a nice discussion and having, like, a really long-winded discussion. But the main thing that I wanted to bring is because I wanted to touch upon the mentality within the FGC, and I feel like a lot of the mentality of the FGC is derived around a lot of negativity, a lot of need to have to do this, being gate kept into this idea that you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to be all of these things, learn all of this shit. You're basically pressured into this idea that if you don't do this, you're not going to be good, you're not going to be welcomed, you're not going to be this or that. And I feel like even for a time myself, like, when you're not getting the results you want from playing the game, it starts to demotivate a player, it starts to demotivate people, and it starts to, like, chip away at the love and the fun of the game that you have. And for a time, that was even me. Like, I've been playing for a very long time, I would say like 7 years. For a short period of time, it's still a lot of time, because that 7 years was mostly casual, but the last 2 years of my life, almost 3, have been superbly dedicated to, like, really putting in my time to wanting to get better and compete in a way that makes me feel like I'm doing something. But I will extend this to you all, and to Anagi as well. I know we talk about this, like, we have friends, we're friends, we're gonna help you, we're gonna cheer you up, we're gonna be there for you. But the one other thing I want to remind you is that we're not doing this just as a means to cheer you up. I have even gone through this like character arc myself where, and I know all of you can probably chime in this as well, especially you, Ice. You've talked about this earlier, where when you're so dedicated, there's nothing wrong with the want to win, the drive to win, the dedication to want to prove you've got the skill. And you know, I've been there, and even with all the skill that I have, and I will even like for the one time on stream, I will basically gloat and say, yeah, I'm kind of fucking good at Guilty Gear Strive. I'm kind of good. There's a reason why I can do so well. I can do all this keck shit and talk that shit because I can back it up. I can play the game and I can just have fun. But there was a time when, like, less than just a few months ago, Unagi, funny enough, there was a time when I had this mindset of I'm bad, and I think you can probably relate, all of you can relate to this. It's like, fuck, yeah. I suck, or this sucks, or you wallow in defeat when you get defeated. And I used to get so salty. I even have a video of me just getting absolutely angry and talking shit and just being mean. And at some points I would have streams where I'm just not having fun and I would quit the stream before I could sour the mood even more. And the one thing I found out is that I watched 2 videos, and I saw these videos before, one of them at least. One of them is from Leon Massey. I've sent them to you personally, Unagi. If I haven't, I'll send them again. Leon Massey made a video called I'm Bad, and it talks about the mentality of a player who constantly uses that messaging to describe their performances, because this messaging is a toxic mentality that basically enables the need to put yourself down, but also it can cause the reverse effect where you put yourself down, but you enable this toxic mentality of like making excuses and talking down on the other players, like you just suck, like this is that, you only lost because of this or that. You make excuses to invalidate someone else's victories, or you put others down because of your mishaps, or you put yourself down because of these mishaps. Like, bro, I can't deal with this, I can't deal with that. And I have Romola's video of why not caring about winning is good. I saw these videos one day, and like it just sat in my brain for like 2 weeks. I didn't think too much of them, and I really started to realize there was one major point that Leon Massey said, and Romola also enforced this to me too, is the fact that, like, overall, when you put this mindset into mind, you basically, it can extend further than just the game you're playing. Actually, sometimes this can extend to your personal life, and when you do it for so long, one day it'll just break you. And it's not just because like you're not doing good in the game. One day, like, this would, like, imagine coming home from work or coming home and having a stressful day and you want to have fun, but the thing that you're calling yourself bad in, you have one bad day and everything falls apart. It can be a minor inconvenience or whatever, but it can happen. And so I started to realize maybe I need to think about the way I play things differently, how I view this differently. Am I having fun because of the wins, or am I being held back because of my need to win or my desire to win? Why am I even chasing the win? What am I chasing the results for? Long term, I feel like the results are more of a detriment because you're expecting to win. And for your case, Unagi, I personally think that as a newcomer, the result shouldn't matter. It should matter more of, are you learning? Like, what is it that you are learning? What are you not doing well in? Identifying these small things and trying to understand where it is you're going wrong. And thankfully, you have us around you to help you understand this, to let you know that, yeah, everything's good. Everything is fine. We know you're struggling. We know you're upset. But the one thing we want to remind you is that even when you think you're not doing well and your results say you're not doing well, one major thing I think the community should understand and should acknowledge more is when people are doing good, because you don't see it, Unagi, but all of us who are more experienced can look at your streams when you're doing stuff. You're doing things that most, like, subconsciously, that seasoned players do consistently.
Yeah.
And some
I did it so many times.
you've done things that most seasoned players like me only just started doing recently and have struggled with. You're doing it subconsciously. And
Like, I will say one thing, you probably don't know about this, but there have been times, and I don't want to say this, like, put you on the spot. Like, sometimes I'll like be watching, and like I might be in VC with like Sheikah and Chaos, and we'll be like watching you even if we're not like talking in chat. We'll be lurking, and we'll like look over for a little bit and be like, holy shit, you're doing stuff that like we don't even do half the time. Like, I've gone over and been like, there's spots where I'd be like, I wouldn't have spent the meter there, but that was smart as hell, and I'd genuinely be impressed. And we'd be like, holy shit, you just did that. And like, it's because we're seeing like real-time progress. And even if you're not like winning, when you're only looking at winning, you're not going to see any of that small progress, or you might not even be aware that you're making progress because you're not seeing it in the wins. But we're looking and we're seeing your actual gameplay just improving so quickly that we're like beyond impressed, like just in genuine, like in some cases, disbelief, because we never thought it would be possible for somebody to improve that quickly. Like,
And again, to add to that, one of my favorite moments, although painful to watch because you were crying, but like you were literally crying. We could visually and audibly hear you crying. And despite that, you were still able to just frame golf swing or baseball bat as
a
fast.
clean
like,
hit, yes, a very
Wait,
tight
what?
window.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
like, I can't even
like-
fucking do that.
I'm like,
I can't even
it's
do
one
that.
thing. It's one thing to do that when your mind is pristine, when you're labbing it against a CPU. It's another when you're doing it under the player, frustrated, in tears, stressed, and you're just like,
And feeling
It's so
sorry
I'm
for
so
herself,
sorry,
mind
chat.
you.
And
Like,
then
straight up, I will tell you, after you were like, when I saw you doing it, I was like, how hard is this? Because you have hit this consistently for like the past 30
In
minutes.
training
and
mode for
I
30
went to
minutes.
the training mode, I couldn't do it once.
Someone in
Straight
chat
up,
went
I
in her,
could
someone
not
in
do it once.
chat.
I kept
Someone
fucking up
told her
before
in
it.
chat the timing, like when to do it. Like as soon as you're close to the floor, she's like, all right, let me try it. She did it 3 times, failed, and like got like almost a good swing, like, you know, like the casual swings that everybody gets into a knockdown.
Yeah.
But then like on her 4th attempt, she got it fucking 7 times in a row after that. I was like, what the fuck?
Right, because I'm over
Yeah.
here, like, my basis for like watching Faust players is like like Inferno, like Inferno Chim. I will watch him. Even he doesn't get the clean hit most of the time.
We're talking about
Like
people who play this
Celestial
for
level
years.
Faust players, people who have been playing since the beginning, fuck that up all the time.
Oh hell yeah, I can
and you're over
explain
here
to
doing
you.
it first time.
I can tell you firsthand because I play in Celestial. Some of these people are already in Celestial too, but I've put like the most time into Celestial. I feel like I can hold my hands up and say, yeah, that's me. I can pat myself on the back and say, yeah, I'm that guy. I am that fella, that motherfucker who will run hands and laugh at you by doing stupid shit. I have played against like high level Fausts, and they don't even do this. Like, I'm not joking you or trying to just give you pity. This is genuine, like, feedback. You can go in my VODs, look at the matches I've had against these guys who have got that golf swing. They hardly ever do it. And if they do, they never hit it consistently. You have
Yeah,
gone
I've
into
been,
matches.
like,
No, I've seen
maybe-
sets.
maybe
I've
half
seen
the
sets
time,
of
straight
yours.
up.
I have seen sets of yours where you have done clean hits 7 times in a row, 5 times in a
Like, it's-
row.
like it's part of a normal combo for you.
Like this is baby shit. Like this is like I've seen
Yeah.
Unagi do it like it's baby food. Like it's Gerber life shit. Like there's no way. I'm like,
Yeah.
how the fuck is this woman like? She is literally suffering from success. Like what the fuck is going on?
Like you're
Well-
doing all this right, and even if you're not seeing the win, we're like, how the fuck do you even do this?
To
Like-
be fair
Definition
though,
of
like to help
success.
Unagi process it, like just to add
Okay.
to what Senna was mentioning earlier,
Mhm.
it is a very newcomer. It's very common for newcomers that when they start playing fighting games, especially when they have mentors to help them,
Mhm.
they immediately want to
Impress.
sort of not just
Mm, mm,
impress,
mm.
but like validate the time and the effort that their mentors went, which is a good thing. But also like they forget that their mentors are not just mentors, they are friends. So like win or lose doesn't matter what the result is, because the mentors just want their students to, one, do well, two, have fun, but most importantly have fun. Like there's
Well,
nothing wrong
For
with doing
me, I would say even differently. I would say I don't even want to say like seeing people do well. I just want to see people keep playing. Like,
yeah, of
Mhm.
course.
like as long as you're having fun and you keep playing, that's already enough for me to be satisfied. Even if you like don't use any of the stuff that people teach you, just the fact that you're still playing is enough for every single one of us to be happy. Because the hardest thing about playing fighting games is getting other people to play.
Yeah.
Can I also
And,
Can I really quickly say, Sen? I thought
Go
you were
ahead.
gonna say, "Oh, I don't want people having fun." That's what I was
Unagi, fuck everything we said. You can't have fun. You need to win.
Like, no, I still want people to have fun. I still want people to have fun. But like
Give me
after
your
like
L.
having
Give me
fun,
your W now.
like my priorities when it comes to like getting people into fighting games is first for them to have fun and then for them to keep playing. Whether or not they do well, I could not care less about that as long as they're having fun and they keep playing.
But like
Because I
again,
think doing better just comes with playing more. So
Mm.
as long as you keep going, you'll get better. And it doesn't matter if you have someone teaching you or not. It's already amazing that you're still playing.
oh yeah, highly agree. But
Because I
again,
know plenty of people I
also,
taught who just don't play anymore.
like it's a very common thing in newcomers again, where, like for example, if hypothetically, let's say Unagi won, oh she said it herself, she won 2 rounds
Out of like 40 or some shit.
out of like 18 matches, not even a match. That's all she
And
sees.
40
And-
rounds with no wins. Yep.
And there is a difference in seeing the 2 rounds that you won and the 18 matches that you didn't win at all. It's a very big difference, and it's still very important. Like, yeah, dude, you lost 18 matches. Yeah, duh, obvious. But don't let that like invalidate the 2 rounds that you won. It's still rounds that you won. They still mean something. Like, because it's almost the opposite. Like if someone wins like 9 games and then they lose 1, of course they're gonna look at the, well, I won 9 times, dude. Why am I gonna let 1 loss get in my head? Turn that around. Like you won once and then 9 losses. Like
Fuck.
you can damn it. There's the thing. Like
Should
you
have
can
taken the W and ran.
you can still acknowledge that you lost 9 times, but don't forget that you won once. Like it's very easy to acknowledge that you've won multiple times, but if you lose multiple times, suddenly that one win almost looks like a fluke. And again, not that it's wrong, it's just that it is understandable why someone new or fresh or different mentality would think that way. And it's really like I would honestly say it's part of the journey for them when they play a fighting game, especially if it's their first time playing a fighting game, because like you can enter a fighting game the same way you enter any game that you play, but once the fighting game starts putting up hands, suddenly you're being challenged. Like, wait, I thought games were supposed to be fun. Why am I getting frustrated losing? And it's
Yeah.
something that you really have to wrestle with. Like, there's no there's no like way to sugarcoat it or any way, but
I
it's
will not
really one of
sugarcoat
the
it.
yeah, it's one of the well, I wouldn't say harshest realities, but it's one of the
Bitter pills
it's
to swallow,
part
I would say.
no, it's part of the core experience of a fighting game. Regardless if you are a veteran or a newcomer, when you play a new fighting game, like you already have some sort of expectation. You can be like me, who is very fun fun driven. Like I don't care if I win or lose, I just want to have fun. You can be someone like a majority of Twitch chat, haha, that are just results driven, results based. And once the game starts fighting back, that's when they get challenged. I mean, even someone who prioritizes fun will get challenged. Like there are times when the game does get under my skin because of whatever bullshit. But eventually you'll wrestle with that. It may take you a week, a month, half a year, but if you wrestle with it long enough, you're gonna beat it. It sucks that it has to be that way, but that really is how fighting games are built. It's something that you yourself have to really have to fight back and eventually, like, win, so to speak.
I have two things to
Does-
bring in. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
Go
go
for
ahead.
it. Real quick, Kazunagi, like if you can answer just a real quick question for me.
Yeah.
What is your expectation for playing Strive? Because like you got interested in playing, right? Like what brought on this inspiration? If you can answer that really fast, so I can get to the next question.
What? Can you repeat that question again?
What, like, to answer it very fast, like
Uh-huh.
what inspired you to want to play fighting games, let alone Strive?
Because you guys are having a lot of fun playing the game.
All right. In that same
Yeah.
vein, what was your expectation when you jumped into the game? Like, were you planning for just fun and pressing buttons, or did you have the intention of like, I want to play, but I want to get better at this game? Like, what was your intention?
Oh, I want to get better. I want to learn new things.
All right.
you
Now,
know?
with that in mind, let me tell you a little philosophy that I saw. And I saw this it was funny because I saw it. It can be a meme, but when you really think about it and break it down, it's actually a really great philosophy. Someone genuinely said, if any of you know who Ride FGC is, someone like I fought him on stream, right? And he was streaming too. And his Twitter handle, like his Twitter bio, literally says, like when regards to fighting games, sometimes you got to get washed before you can get clean. And
Yeah.
as funny as that sounds, when you break it down, like you can apply it on a very philosophical level. Sometimes you're gonna get beat down before you can stand tall, and it builds that grit. It's a genre of discipline, and we wholeheartedly in this chat, all of us can agree. And I want to further get more insight into how you feel, but to get this aside, we can wholeheartedly agree. We have a lot of confidence when we say you have a lot more heart and discipline and dedication than most newcomers I've ever met in my life. Most newcomers would deal with what you dealt with and say, fuck this game, I'm out, I don't like this anymore, like this sucks. I know when I first I'll tell you what, when I first started 7 years ago, like back in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, like back in my high school days, I was a freshman. I tried Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 because I played MVC 2 and I played the original Marvel vs. Capcom. And when I played it, I was having fun on my own. Then some dude literally showed up, was a tournament player, that was like, because my high school was linked with a college. He literally washed my shit. I was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, that could have broken me that day, but I was like, I'm coming back tomorrow. Because fuck this. I didn't like that. I don't like how I got my ass kicked. I'm trying this again. And I would go against him, and every time I'd get my ass handed, but I'd get a character or something. I'm like, yes, fuck yes. I'd pop off. Like I stole a character's life, yeah, or I got a character down to like 50% or a quarter of his life. I was like, yes. And I'd get pissed if I lost, but eventually I started to play more. Anytime I got any fucking win, I didn't know quarter circles, I didn't know anything. I just mashed buttons and had fun. And then when I eventually did get that one win, my friends who were more experienced than me, we all popped off and they were like, "You got this shit, let's go!" Like screaming their heads off and shit. We almost got kicked out of the lounge. And like they popped off with me because the guy that we were playing against, he was another friend of our group. No one could beat him. We literally had an entire circle of 12 people trying to kick his ass, and his team was stupid. He had fucking Akuma, Ghost Rider, and I think he had like Doctor Doom. We could not touch him. And eventually I was playing Iron Fist. I hit 3-4 level 1s in X Factor. I happy birthday to his shit, and then I beat his last character when he did a super, and I did the Iron Fist's rush super, and I won. Everyone popped off. I popped off. I screamed. I was like, "Let's fucking go!" And everyone in my circle, we were all getting hype as shit. I am a dog shit at that game. But the main thing I want to highlight is the fact that all of us are feeling that exact same feeling when you're on stream and you don't hear us. Like, we're in calls and we're all like popping off, like, "Unagi got this shit, let's go!" Like, and we're like, "Come on, Unagi, come on." We're all like getting excited watching you play, and we're sitting there like, there is something this woman does not see that we all know. And when she finds out what it is, all hell will break loose. And I think like right now, as a newcomer, enjoy the exploration phases of this, because every newcomer and before you and after you will always go through the same trial and error of knowing that they themselves are like will always feel like their results don't like acknowledge their progress, never is acknowledged by their results. And when the moment you ditch that, like the moment you start to realize, all right, screw the results, just play. Like, you're a newcomer, try this out, press buttons, do stupid shit, try things you never think would work. Don't do safe shit, don't do optimal shit, don't do like reckless shit, just experiment. You're new, experiment, have fun with it. Throw caution to the wayside. Fuck what the chat is saying to you. If you want to get better, you take tips little by little. You're experimenting, figure things out. The figuring out process is what makes the whole game fun. And if you want and when you want more advice, or you want like in-depth ways of helping, you know who to find. We're all here, and we've been around long enough to help you understand the things you're doing right and the things you can improve. Not just the things, not necessarily the things you're doing wrong, the things you can improve. That's the thing we look at it. Like, instead of focusing on what you're doing wrong, I look at it as a way of things that you can counteract, things you can improve upon, not as a mistake. Sometimes these mistakes can lead to discoveries. I still to this day am making these discoveries, and I want you to understand that you can too, and you shouldn't feel stressed by the results, especially when you're streaming. We're all behind you. We support you regardless of the results.
And to add to that, I just want to bring a quote from hilariously. It's from Auron from FF10. He did say, "Make mistakes. That's what youth is for."
Hell yeah.
Perfect.
Make mistakes.
And while
like,
we're here,
when
I want to
you're
bring up another
new
topic
to
after this.
yeah. I'll wrap this up. Like, again, you're still in the learning phase of fighting games. Doesn't matter which one. I know you're playing a lot, but you're still in the learning phase. Make as many mistakes as you can. That's what that stage is for. It's embrace the fun, embrace the mistake. That's part of your story, your journey.
Part of my character development. Ooh.
Very much. You are going through your shonen training arc right now.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things, and this is one thing I didn't even think about until yesterday during a stream that I was attending. I don't know if I talked about this while we were on stream yesterday, Yoko, but I wanted to talk a little bit about like people viewing what we say as false positivity, because that is one thing I've noticed. Like, there's a lot of like resistance to when we as fighting game players say, yeah, anyone can get into these games, anyone can play these games. I've realized like after a stream that I was at yesterday, some people when they hear us say this stuff, they think it's like false positivity and like bullshit. And I kind of wanted to say that it's really not like false positivity. When we say anyone can pick up a fighting game and with like practice become good at them, yeah, you can. Anyone can. I think out of this, I would probably consider myself the best example of this. I'm not gonna say not yet because you're still like really, really new, but like I've been playing for about a year now. I think it's been a year since I started playing Guilty Gear Strive. And when I first started, I didn't go in thinking I was gonna be able to do like fancy, stylish combos and shit. I thought I was gonna do some small combos, get rocked a lot, but then like pull out wins every once in a while. And in the end, after like fighting with someone yesterday who was newer, I realized that after the amount of time that I put into the game, I've kind of ended up in that same position to a lot of newer players where, yes, I look like a top level player, and like to them, I am a top level player. So when they hear me say anyone can do this, they don't believe it because it's coming from the mouth of a top level player and not someone who's like on their way there.
It's like, you washed my shit. How can you say that kind of deal?
Right, because I'm gonna say, so the people who were there, it was me and Vinta, and Streamer fought against me and they didn't win. I was going like way easier than I normally would, like to the point where I could still have a little bit of fun while playing against them. But like I wasn't really doing like Oki setups or anything, and they got really frustrated and said this game is like bullshit. Like a lot of people, like when they get frustrated at the game, they're like, this game is bullshit, why do people play this? And like no amount of you telling them it's not bullshit, it's like even if you were to explain it to them, they're still gonna think it's bullshit because they don't know how to deal with it, or they think, so I'm just not allowed to play the game. And this is kind of why when I play Kai, I don't do the charge stun edge Oki setup, is because it frustrates a shit ton of people, and I find it a whole lot less fun. It frustrated a shit ton of people that I played with because if I got a single knockdown, they just weren't allowed to play the game for like half the round. And I know it's not fun, so I looked into different ways of setting up so that there's still interaction at the very least. Like I moved to a setup.
I assume you meant for
now,
when you're playing newcomers, right?
Not just against newcomers. Unless I'm playing in a tournament, I don't do the charge stun edge setup at all. I literally never use it because it's not fun to fight against, and I would prefer for people to have fun when fighting against me. So
I disagree with that, but I'll let you continue.
I do the 5K setup because you can still DP it at the very least. So, or I might not do either one at all. I might go for a grab setup so you can mash out instead of DPing for when I'm going against characters who don't have a DP. If you have a reversal option and you can use it, I'll probably still use the OTG 5K setup. But I decided to do that because it is far easier to deal with, and if somebody wants to know what they can do against it, I can tell them, don't try and grab me, don't try and jump out, you just block low, and then my next attack will push me out of range, and it'll be your turn to play immediately afterwards. And versus when I do charge stun edge, it's like I can loop that in the corner forever. I can't do that with the 5K setup. At some point, like really quickly, it's going to end because I don't have big pressure off of it. And teaching people that and being like, you can just block low when I do this, and not tell them about the throw and not do it. If they get used to it and they start figuring out, then I'll let them know there's other stuff I can do off of it and what you're really guessing on. But for now, I'm not gonna teach new players about that because it's a lot of information in a really short period of time. People are like, how the hell do you learn all this? And I said, I just played a lot. I learned a lot of this from having it happen to me so many times. Like learning that you could even make it so that people couldn't grab you if you tried to attack them on their wake up. I did not know about that until Chaos and Yoko did it. Like Chaos and Yoko would do it to me constantly, and I didn't understand why, and I got frustrated with it, and I was like, this is bullshit. But then I found out that there's a way to stop you from doing it, because they weren't really doing it against me, because I wasn't really throwing on Wake Up, because I wasn't landing them. So I just kind of stopped throwing on Wake Up. They stopped doing it, and they went for other stuff instead. So I didn't learn about the counterplay for a long time. But then now that I know the counterplay, I try and teach other people about the counterplay, because I don't want people to get frustrated with thinking that there's nothing they can do about it when there is. Or sometimes them thinking that blocking is doing nothing. That is a big one. A lot of newer players, when they play, they think that blocking is the equivalent of doing nothing. And no, the equivalent of doing nothing is just standing there. The equivalent of doing nothing in a fighting game is actually just standing there.
Or just dropping the
blocking, that is
controller and
action.
letting yourself get hit, you know?
Yeah, that is doing nothing. But if you're blocking, you're still doing something. Like, people get upset when you tell them block. Like, if you tell them you just need to block that, people will think, but I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, you blocking is doing something. It is going to push them away, and they're not going to be able to do a combo off of that move, most likely. So you can wait it out. You wait out the combo, and some combos are not real and can be interrupted. And when they come up, we can teach you about them. But telling you all this before you fight this character is not going to help you, because you're still not going to know. So, like, against new players, I don't play Giovanna because they don't know that half of my shit is interruptible. They don't know what to respect and what to, like, try and mash out of. So I'm not going to play that, because I don't want to frustrate them with thinking they don't get to play the game when they do.
Your shit's interruptible?
Yes.
It very much
like,
is. If you
literally
we'll get through
see?
that. Yeah, it's very interruptible. I can say from experience, if you let a Giovanna player just randomly /slash you and she stops, hit that bitch. Like, smack her. Like, smack
Literally
the fuck out of her.
Everything Gio does is interruptible in one way or another.
If she tries to do thunder thighs on your shit, just smack the fuck out of her. She doesn't deserve to live. Like, she tries to stagger /slash. You know that move where she leans on her dog, like, what the dog doing, then does the 3 kicks. If she does that and then stops, kill her. Like, that's basically the gap. She basically created that was basically
I wasn't even gonna go that far. I was gonna say something as simple as 6P'ing me out of spiral arrow or hitting me with a low to stop it while it's on the way to me. Like, new players don't know that move, it can be counter hit. They think they just have to block it, and because of that, they're just sitting there taking chip damage constantly. They don't know what to do against that move, and they think that they just don't get to play the game, when in reality, you can 6P it, you can hit me with a low if I'm really close. Like, what Ice and Kappa do often is they will 6P me out of it. Like, they'll time the 6P. It takes practice to do, and you're not going to be able to do it immediately or all the time, but it's interruptible, and you don't have to respect it. You only have to respect it if you let me hit you with it, but you don't have to let me hit you with it, is the thing. But new players don't know that. And because it's such an integral part of playing Giovanna, I'm not going to play her against new players who can't deal with it, because they're going to get frustrated.
Do you have any... Before we continue, though, actually, I want Unagi to be able to take the floor, because I want her to... Because I feel like this is where everyone has already said a lot of their piece, even some more than others, but... I want Unagi to be able to, like, take over for a second, and I want you, if you have any questions, like, do you have, like, ask us anything, like, in terms of, like, the whole genre itself. Ask us questions how we've kind of come through with it, how we've pushed through these obstacles, what kind of feelings you have towards the game, how do you let us know how you feel, and what question, like, you can ask any question in regards to the genre, because you're new, so this perspective is something that's important, especially because we can talk here all we want and try to represent newcomers, but we're not newcomers anymore. You are, though. So your questions are valuable in this case. So you can think about this. Like, if there's anything you want to ask, we're willing to answer.
Okay. Huh. Let me think. Because I think I asked a lot of these kind of questions back then, on Inari's Shrine Talk. When we were chatting. Yeah, I think I pretty much asked a lot of very good questions already. Okay. There's this one. Okay, so a little bit of context. I'm taking part on the tourney tomorrow.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a beginner's tourney, okay?
Oh, all right.
Yeah, okay.
Unagi's growing up fast.
I'm just there for the content, okay? Alright, so what are your guys' mentality when you guys first attend a tourney,
Can we start with I want to start with
Don't start with Ice or Roa for this. Yeah.
Roa's competed, so his is like his. Do you want to participate in this one, Roa?
Yeah, I can say it.
All right. You go first, Roa.
Okay, when I go in the tournament, the mentality I go into it is me expecting to lose. That's always the mentality. I'm not here to. If I win, I win. If I lose, I lose. I do not expect myself just to win, unless I'm that cocky or that confident. So, but the thing is, this is a learning experience for myself when going to tournaments. When I do tournaments, I'm here to figure out what I did wrong, what I should have done better, and what do I need to improve on.
All right. Senna, because you and I have both participated in our own collective of tournaments, I'm gonna let you go first.
I have to say extremely similar, especially since my first experience with Guilty Gear Strive was at a tournament. I am fully expecting to lose. The only thing I can do at a tournament is do my best, and any expectations of winning or losing should be left at the door, basically. I don't go in expecting to win. The only thing I bring in is my best, and if I'm not feeling like I'm up to it, I might not compete. I'm never going to take into consideration the skill level of the other players in how I think I'm gonna do in the tournament. I'm not gonna worry about what my result is gonna be. I just go in, play until I lose, and then watch the rest, see if there's anything I can learn.
Have you participated in any Inari?
Who?
Have you participated in I assume you haven't, right?
Participated in any what?
Tournaments.
Oh, I participated in a lot of tournaments, not Strive specifically, but yeah.
No, you've done Strive tournaments as well.
Oh, I've done online Strive tournaments.
Well, in general, just in general, because I want to get everyone's feedback on this. So, Inari, do you have anything in mind? Have you participated?
Yeah, I have joined tournaments before. Hilariously enough, the first tournament I ever joined was Marvel vs. Capcom 3.
All right.
And I would say my advice for when you enter a tournament, like, again, it's very weird and it sounds tough to do, but like my mentality in a tournament is to forget that it's a tournament. I only focus.
That's a good one.
I focus in the fact that I'm just playing a game. That's it. Like, yeah, I am in a tournament, but ultimately I'm sitting down, I have my controller, there's a screen, and there's the game I'm playing.
Run hands.
It's not that much different from what I do outside of a tournament. I'm just playing the game. So if I were to focus on something, I'll focus on one thing. Playing the game. That's it. The results, the matchup, who I'm fighting, the prize pool is not even remotely in my mind. The only thing that I am focusing on is the fact that, oh, I'm playing this game. Okay, let's go. That's it. That's basically it.
All right.
Yep.
Ice, and then I'll conclude this one.
Well, like, it's kind of signed, sealed, delivered. There's not a whole lot else to really contribute here. It's like, yeah, just you're gonna. It's it's very hard to kind of ignore tournaments, especially like when you're going into your first one. You're gonna you're gonna probably psych yourself out to some capacity, but all you can really do realistically in a tournament is just do your best. So don't focus on the outcome or the end result. Just focus on doing the best you can, and whatever happens, happens. Just celebrate your small victories wherever you can, and don't beat yourself up if shit hits the fan, because it might. And as long as you did your best, and don't just try not to get upset about it or anything.
Or even better, even if you don't do your best, just you got to play against new people. You got to play against new people. Just enjoy fighting against people. Don't worry about winning or losing. Just try your best, even if you feel like you haven't done your best. You did the best you could in the moment, and that's already good enough.
Okay.
To conclude this, I'm surprised none of you said this too. When you're playing your first tournament, I will wholeheartedly tell you something that Kizzy and his chat have told me. Kizzy K is a professional fighting game player as well. And like his chat, I asked about this on my first tournament because I was playing with a little independent organization known as WASD, like WASD, live, or Impurist Club, right? Like these are the same people who host their own stuff. So these guys, I did my first tournament with them, and it was a Guilty Gear Strive tournament. And I asked them, I asked Kizzy, I was like, hey Kizzy, any advice for someone like me who is new to tournaments, like someone like for his first tournament? Literally the first 4 things he told me, like his first thing, like he like scoffed at it. Like he basically listened to it, he's just like, oh, just have fun. Literally just have fun. And then his chat helped me with that. Legit, the first thing they told me, when you're playing a game, especially online, have water on you and drink a bit of water in between matches, right? So when you're playing a set of like first to 3 or first to 2, right? Drink some water in between matches, and then in between rounds, like in a match, there's going to be 2 rounds or 3 rounds, depending on how many people or how many times you're going. In between rounds, take deep breaths. And then when the match is over, don't rematch right away. Take some time to get some breathing room. And sometimes what people will do in tournament is they'll go to character select and just take about a minute and then just pick their character after they've gotten some breath in. It's what that's supposed to do is to quell the tournament nerves, because your first tournament, you're gonna be nervous. It's a natural environment, because it's different when you're playing with, because now you have the pressure of tournament play on your back. And to say that do not think about the pressure would be ignorant to an extent. While I do agree it's a good advice, I do think that for the first time, you're not gonna
almost impossible.
It's virtually impossible. Like you're gonna sit there, you're gonna feel that, you're gonna feel your nerves tense up. That's even like for me, some of the most knowledgeable combos, some of your most basic combos that you can know like the back of your hand, you're gonna have the likelihood of dropping those. So
the biggest one that I forgot.
Yeah, you're gonna
do fancy shit.
We'll get to that shortly. But so what I would say is like take moments to breathe. Like take deep breaths. Like calm your mind. Like anytime you're on a losing you're losing, don't let that loss be the defining factor. You're like, take your breath, sit down, hunker down, play your game the best you can, and just do your thing. And the one thing I will extend upon it, Senna already said it, but don't try to be fancy. If it's simple and it's not broke, don't fix it. If it works, keep doing it. If it doesn't work, you may try something else, but never try to outdo yourself or try to be all fancy. That usually, like, curiosity kills the cat. Like, if you wanted to experiment with that stuff, you could do it off of a tournament. But for now, in tournament, just do the basic thing that you know will always work.
Okay.
Yeah.
I will use my own. I will actually use my own tournament experience as an example here, where I had one tournament run where like all the fancy stuff I do with Giovanna that I'm able to do when I'm fighting in tower, when I'm playing with y'all. I can't hit any of it in tournaments. I'll be honest. Straight up, when I do tournaments, I'm doing like very simple like 4-move combos and that's it. I'm not doing anything fancy in tournaments because I know that even though I'm not playing like I'm in a tournament, I'm still very much aware that it is a tournament, especially if I'm in like the later stages of the tournament. Like if I make it to like top 12 or something, it's gonna be impossible for me to forget about the fact that I'm in a tournament. So usually when the nerves start getting to me, I will kind of like have a gauge of knowing there's absolutely no way I'm gonna be able to do this, even if it's something that I'm normally used to doing. And this is not like a thing that's exclusive to me. This is a thing that even like competitive players like Sajam has talked about this, Deb has talked about it, where they'll be in a tournament and actually just forget some of the stuff that they normally do, and they just stuck to bread and butter combos for the entire game. It may look lame to you, you might not feel like you're doing well, but you're doing a combo. Like, it doesn't matter if it's a fancy combo or not. If it's working, it's working.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Like, they are stressful, but
those in mind.
as they can be tournaments can be stressful and anxiety inducing, but as long as you're going in to have fun and not with the expectation of getting a certain place, you'll enjoy it, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. And overall, take it as an experience. Don't look at it as like a defining factor. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. Take it as an experience. And if you don't want to do it again, no one will blame you. If you want to keep going, we wholeheartedly support your runs going forward. Just from there on, just you do you. And we hope and we wish you the best of luck. Anything else you want to ask?
Okay. Anything else? Nah.
Nothing else.
One thing I will say is since it's a beginner tournament, there may be a point where there may be some like they may go over some matches and like replays, and if you have a match that gets replayed, they often do like give advice after beginner tournaments. Like, feel free after a game, feel free to ask your opponent if there's something that you didn't understand that they did. Feel free to ask them after your sets are over, like whether you win or lose. If it's something that you didn't understand, feel free to ask them about it. They will oftentimes answer you.
Okay. Okay. I'll keep that in mind.
All right. But so far though, I will ask one major question for you, and I want to know, just off everything we've talked about so far. How has your, like, with all this in mind, all the struggle and everything that you've been doing, with all this information you've heard, do you feel like you still, like, you have the heart and the want to keep going forward with this community?
Of course. That's why I keep playing this game.
And that's all we could really ask. That's all we can really say. And we appreciate you for all, like, sticking through it, even though it can be pain, it can be fucking AIDS. Like, the fact that you are this, like, your will is this strong, and, you know, your heart is this this hardened, you know. We look at that and we see, like, a future of gold where we have hope that people like you, newcomers, will come and see, like, you as an example, and you as, like, an idea of a ray of sunshine that, you know, they did this, they're a newcomer and they're doing good. Maybe I can too. And we've all been there at one point. I wouldn't even put myself up there. I only got as good as I did because I had to change many things about myself, and it took some time. But some people learn faster, some people take longer. It's all about you taking that time and making the best out of that time that you have. And to not equate time with skill, it's what you dedicate your time to that determines your skill. That's all that really matters, because time alone doesn't equal skill. I can have 7,000 hours in a game. That'll make me top player of the world. I can have less than 1,000 hours and I can be better than most people in the lobby. That's the defining factor. Just do what you do with your time, and do not judge the amount of time you spend and the amount of wins or losses that you have as a detriment to your progress or your level of fun and love that you have for a game. That's the only thing I can really say.
Okay. You know, the one of the reason I keep playing this game is because of you guys. You guys been so supportive, you know, been so nice to me, been so open about giving me advice on how to play this game. Yeah. Thank you guys so much, though.
Yeah, I like being able to give advice because I know that's one of the things I was really lacking when I started.
Oh, definitely.
So if I can be the person who can help newer players understand that something is going on, I'm more than happy to do so. Because more than anything, I just want more people to enjoy the same games that I'm enjoying. Even if they don't stick with it, even if they don't play it as seriously as I do, or if they decide to play more seriously than I do. Just as long as they're having fun and they're playing it, I'm happy.
You know, I'm so glad to be part of this community right now.
Yeah, little by little, you'll start to appreciate it more as time goes on, and we hope that because of the standards that are progressing forward, with rollback being the new standard of today than it ever has been before. We have crossplay, which is starting to become a thing that is gaining a lot of traction, and thankfully on like for KOF, Multiverses, and Strive, we are going to see cross-platform. And if it works, and Arc System and SNK get this done right, and Multiverses too, we will be seeing a new wave of standards that could really, really help retain a player base more and really improve the quality of player retention. And the lobby sizes, it increases a game tenfold, and it basically will allow it will kill the need to have to buy a certain platform in order to play. It will basically be made so that both platforms, or more than one platform, can be accessible to the same accessibility options that are being driven into a video game. And now that we're having this, it's taken a lot of time, and you know, it's a bit bittersweet that it took this long. But the fact is that we're looking at a brand new generation that is bringing forth a whole plethora of new and exciting changes, some of which we never would have thought we've seen in such a very long time, some of which many players have given up on the idea of them. And we are very young, we've been around for many years, and we, even when we were so driven to the point of like no return, we didn't even expect them. But now we've got crossplay on the horizon. Rollback is now the standard, or it should now still be the standard, on top of having good netcode, because rollback alone is not good enough. It has to be good, and it has to be rollback, both of which can make it so you can play across the world, and you can play with people locally, and not have to compensate for a weightier game because of delay. But if we have crossplay, now we can play with friends who don't have a PC. We can play with people who have a PS5, a PS4, potentially a Nintendo Switch if they ever fucking listen to us. Xbox One if they ever.
Atari 2600.
The Nintendo 64.
The refrigerator.
The refrigerator box.
Samsung refrigerator.
Mobile devices.
Like just small things like things
and
that
your
people
Tesla.
consider
Don't
small.
forget your Tesla.
Oh yeah, we're gonna
Yeah.
your Rubik's Cube, bro. Like you'll be able
Like
to
things like that, just being able to play with everyone. You're like coming in at like a point where you are in like the perfect position to be able to pick up a whole bunch of the games that are coming up, and you might be able to play even like the hardest ones that some of us may not have considered, just because you're getting in at the starting point for a lot of these newer games. Like, I would consider like this one singular year that I've played, this is basically just the starting point of the game for a lot of people.
Oh yeah,
I think a lot of games, they will continue to be played for like years after they've come out.
Marvel vs. Capcom, bro. That game has been that series has been alive for the last 20 years.
What has?
Marvel vs. Capcom, and I'm not talking Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I'm talking Marvel vs. Capcom everything.
Yeah,
Marvel,
when it was called X vs Street Fighter, Marvel Superheroes. Yeah.
Yep.
Before it even got the moniker of MVC.
Yeah, basically. People are still playing that. People are still playing Third Strike. Like, there are, I think the most diehard community is Marvel vs. Capcom fans. We are still seeing people who are not only playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2, not only playing Marvel vs. Capcom 3, we have motherfuckers who are so diehard, they modded in characters with their move sets from original games and from other video games into Marvel vs. Capcom 3, something the devs didn't even do. They added characters like Rashid, Bison, Cammy, Cyclops, and so many other like characters into Marvel vs. Capcom 3 via the alt skins, which gave you the accessibility of being able to play other characters from different franchises that we never would have thought we'd see. But modders have done this. And that's what makes this community so great, especially because if it weren't for the modding community, and I have so much love for them too, we would not be having rollback. Like, modders are the reason why we even have rollback to begin with, because Arc System have hired modders that worked on plus R rollback and have progressively went back they hired them, they worked on that, and then from there Arc System pioneered the need for rollback again with Strive.
Oh.
Yeah, like everything that we've like, all these things that we are considering like standard features now were not standard features before.
Less than a year ago.
But why is it taking so long?
Because because the genre is niche, it has very little money, and oftentimes Japanese companies are very conservative and don't give a flying fuck about anything outside of Japan.
And not even that. Even a lot of times, they don't always listen to their fan base in Japan. A lot of them are notorious for not listening to their fans, period. So,
and Japan is usually like very reserved about it. It's like they're more grateful for just having it as a result of just being more critical.
Yeah,
it's also a cultural thing. Like, it's just a cultural thing.
Yeah. So for us, it's like a lot of the feedback that people outside of Japan get doesn't make it to them in any meaningful way. And even in Japan, they are hesitant, like even with their Japanese fan base, they're hesitant to take the feedback. So sometimes it does take a long time for them to work on some features. It basically takes us saying, we will not buy this unless it has this.
Or
like why
it
so
takes
many people didn't play Persona 4 Arena until it got rolled
heavy
back.
Backlash from fans. It took an entire fan base, an entire community to criticize and throw backlash so heavy. The community basically forced the team into reconsidering, and it was only because of that these games ever even got any form of changes. But look at the effort it took. That's what it took. But people didn't give up. They still stuck around. They fought. We have content creators that are basically going out of their way to help to spread this message. Maximilian Dude being one of the biggest defining factors that we even have rollback to this day. That conversation that it started. Kizzy K, Lord Knight, Sajam, Brian F, and so many other creators like going out of their way. I don't even like watching all these people, but I can understand that these motherfuckers went out of their way, and if it wasn't for these people, we wouldn't have anything close to what we have now. And if it wasn't for the FGC modding community and for the community itself, the ones who really want this community to be better, bigger, and more importantly, to progress rather than to be gatekept by the diehard grassroots members, we want to see this grow. We don't want to see it be tampered in a way that makes the quality of the community go down. But at the same time, the philosophy that we have to run with is like, in order for change to happen, some of the originals are going to get pissed. Some people are going to get pissed, but it's all for the greater good. Maybe not everything is going to work, but that's the reason why right now everything is experimental. And I'm so excited and I'm so positive and I'm so, granted, I take everything with a grain of salt, but that's why I'm so hopeful for this community, because there's so many people, so many VTubers, and VTubers are the biggest reason why too. Watching all these people who have no business with it, having fun with the community, who never would have touched it otherwise. They're having a great time, and it's spreading love, it's spreading appreciation, it's making the community bigger, more wholesome, more appreciative. And if it weren't for that, and people like you, Nagi, that like are new and like really having fun with it, we wouldn't have any of it. It takes a lot of love from both ends to make something work. And the fact is that we're getting something out of it. It's taking a while. It's taken a lot of pain and suffering as a result.
It's
but
making progress.
It's making, progress is happening. And you know, it's like, what would be better to like for things to be better or for you to be bitter? It's supposed like there's a reason why there's a phrase, be better, not bitter. So in this case, we need to be positive in the things that are going down. Be appreciative of the things that we're seeing and the changes that are being made. Sure, not everything is going to be great. Maybe there'll be some criticism here and there, but we cannot be here cynical and act like nothing actually good is coming. At the very least, I think we can all agree. I think this future of the fighting game industry and the fighting game community is looking brighter each and every day. Even with all this controversy that's going on, I don't think this is going to derail anything. What I think it will do is it'll leave blotches here and there, but I don't think this is going to... I think the community is just in a golden era right now. This is the golden age of like fighting games. We're seeing all these games that are getting retrofitted with rollback, games that older players can enjoy again because their old games now have a way to be played. We have newer players enjoying these things, and we have all these other things that are being added in.